But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. Let's make sure I'll get my buttons pressed in order. All right, everything looks good. And hello to all of you. My name is... Wait. Let's start over. My name is Michael Strange. I'm your host. We're here tonight with your special co-host, Rohan, Liam Martin, the famous Liam Martin, and we'd like to say hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Thursday night, which feels like a Friday night if you have a troubled mind, because why the hell not? This is a show where we get together Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, and talk about all the things you're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We got a doozy for you tonight. We're talking about acoustics. We're talking about sound. We're talking about the power of that frequency and vibration through audio. That certain special je ne sais quoi. That power, pardon my French. Whatever it is, there is something to audio, to acoustics, to something that, well, generates a lot of things, and we're going to get to that tonight as we continue and do all the rest of this. You know, this conversation is a long conversation. We encapsulate these things to have a topic to really kind of consider and talk about one thing in particular, just for the sake of, again, discussing all of the theories, all of the ideas within these sort of sub-ideas of this greater conversation. This conversation goes deep, and it goes so many different directions. It goes to the ancients, it goes to the future, it goes to the multiverse, to the metaverse, and everywhere in between, and that's what this show's about. It's about you. It's about just kind of considering the reality we live in and the way the world works, and like I said, it's a very long conversation. So that's what's going on here tonight. That's what we do. As you know, we do this show live, and you can reach us at this phone number. It's a pretty simple thing, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show, and you can talk to myself or also Rohan, which we're going to say hi to in just one moment here, and that's what's going on. It's a pretty simple process. 702 area code is actually a Las Vegas area code, so if you don't like that, you're listening internationally, and we have people listening to this show all over the world. You can also use the Discord. It's completely free. Go to troubledminds.com troubledminds.org and click the Discord link. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. It's amazing. It's one of those programs that brings people together. The censorship hasn't hit it quite just yet, but well, we're going to roll with it as long as it takes, because it's been amazing thus far. So what else do we got? We're streaming in a few different places, of course, Rockfin, YouTube, D Live, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. A couple things real quick regarding that. Please join the Fringe Discord. Go to fringe.fm/chat. That will give you a direct invite to the Fringe Discord. And I'm watching all the chat in all the places and trying to keep up with you guys and all your amazing thoughts. So if you're out there in chat land, I see you, and I'm reading the chat and trying to keep up. And one final thing, please download the Fringe app. It's just the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, is download the Fringe app. It's completely free. You can find it on, of course, the Android and Apple app stores, and just smash the play button on the app. Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. You'll get me. You'll get you. You'll get us. And tonight, you would get the mighty Rohan. Liam Martin, the famous Liam Martin. Are you there, my friend? Test 1, 2. Hello, hello.
Hey, buddy. How you doing? All right.
Doing A-okay. No complaints out of me. You do sound great. He said he did a sound check just before. He's like, I did a sound check and I sound great. And I have to agree. You sound great, Rohan.
Yeah, what else do you need to know, Mike?
Yeah, hey, that's it. That's it. The famous Liam Martin, Exiled Minds podcast. He did the sound check prior to, and he sounds great. Hey, that's what's going on. How are you feeling,
It reminds
bro?
me of those, when, you get those movies and they say, prepare to fire. And you're like, well, it's just a button. I'm prepared. It's my job,
Right, exactly. I woke up prepared. I'm ready to just smash that button. Exactly. Which is probably a bad joke in light of the recent past 48 hours, so we won't get into that. But yeah,
That's
I mean...
right, yeah, but not to worry, because I control all the EMPs, hence I've trademarked it now, so they're going to have to consult me on that at least. Okay,
that's good. The EMP, of course, stands for not what you think. It stands for Exiled Minds Podcast, so that means they're going to have to ask the famous Liam Martin if they're going to fire off one of them. Yeah, definitely. So the way this show goes, right, is again, we do this to include you. The whole point of this is to get together and talk and have a conversation and realize, there's some amazing things in this world, in this reality, that aren't really so linear. And sometimes it's a little bit of woo, or a lot bit of woo, and other times it's a little bit of history, or a little bit of futurism, or however you want to take it. And as always, right, we look to hear your thoughts on these topics as we talk about them, because I've learned more from you guys than I have from anything on the internet, and that's the beauty of this. It's just getting together and talking, and that's what's up. So let's do it. We were Rohan and I were kicking around this morning because I couldn't sleep because obvious reasons. One, my sleep schedule is destroyed for just randomosity. It happens. But the second thing is the last 48 hours. I've been eyes peeled to the news and watching some of this stuff develop, and it's like, oh God, again. Like, when does this ever stop? This stuff doesn't ever seem to stop. But Rohan was awake, I was awake, and we were just kicking around some ideas and just talking and just kind of having fun. And the idea came up to discuss the idea of acoustics and audio and the power of audio, in the sense that there's this thing called Archaeoacoustics. There's this thing called Cymatics. There's this Graham Hancock idea of the species with amnesia and maybe lost technology. And so that conversation turns into the Coral Castle. It turns into maybe the pyramids, or any ancient megalithic structures, Stonehenge, things like this, where, in some circles, in the very, very woo circles, the woo-woo, you know what I'm saying, they actually consider that they used audio to maybe levitate extremely heavy things. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, sort of that all-encompassing thing. There is a UFO connection here and all kinds of stuff. So, of course, one more time, you want to be part of this discussion, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org, and there you go. Anything to add to that, Mr. Martin, Rohan, regarding any of that stuff I said? There's a ton to this, isn't there?
Oh, there's loads to this, and like I say, it starts to sprawl out as so many of these do. But this is one that we can, I think that we can there are different types of shows, different types of topics, and different levels of things that you can get to with it. But I think with this one, we've got a bit of something we can grab, a little bit. We've got a bit of something that we can see in history, and so I think we've got something a bit more tangible with this one. It's good, and we're still going to maybe juice it. We've got to, haven't we?
Yeah, you got to maybe juice it. That's part of the gig here. Again, so if you're new and you're just joining us, wondering what the hell we're talking about, maybe juice is a grotesque paraphrase of something Aristotle said, which kind of was like this. This is a bad paraphrase of that anyway. But the mark of an educated mind is being able to entertain a thought without accepting it. We just call it drinking the maybe juice, and that's what we're doing tonight, including, well, this idea of this acoustic power of not just sound, frequency. We always talk about what Tesla said in terms of the universe is it consists of frequency, vibration, and what am I missing? He said one other thing, but anyway, that's what the universe is built on, these ideas of frequency and audio, and even, and if you want to go super nerd, in the Tolkien mythology, it all began with a song, like in the universe, the creation of the universe in Tolkien mythology. That's J.R.R. Tolkien of Yes, Lord of the Rings. Like I said, nerd alert. But in the beginning of that, if you read the Silmarillion, it begins with a song, with like a cosmic song. Before there was anything, before there was a void, there were like these deities that were singing sort of in this harmony, in this in unison, right? And of course, it would be like an ethereal kind of, humans wouldn't even be able to decipher what this is, because it was such a beautiful tone of harmonics that you couldn't do anything, because it was just kind of locked the would-be universe in a state of harmony, okay? But of course, like every good story starts, there has to be a discord. There has to be a discordant individual, and you bet his name is Melkor. Super nerd alert, and there you go. I see you guys in the chat. What's up? Hi. So there you go. I don't know if you're into the Tolkien mythology there, Mr. Rohan. What do you think about that idea there?
Yeah, that was quite. I didn't really know that, to be honest. I thought that's quite interesting, and like you say with the Tesla, you mentioned Tesla, he comes up as well, and that quote was I think it was frequency, vibration, wasn't it, and resonance. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, you mentioned Tolkien. I'm writing an epic show about magic coming up. But Tolkien comes in because if you think about it, with this stuff, we say woo-woo, like this is steam train woo-woo, woo-woo, right? Levitation, ancients, crazy talk. But thing is, this woo-woo crazy talk is the most written about stuff in all of history. Do you know what I'm saying? When we're talking about these ancient technologies, magic, Tolkien, The Hobbit, Harry Potter, they're the most popular writings in all of history, aren't they? So, whilst on the one hand we have this kind of schizophrenic angle with looking at this stuff, because science will say no, this can't be, this is ridiculous, and yet throughout history everybody's researching it. Do you know what I mean? Seems a bit weird.
Yeah, well, and again, we've talked about this in the past as well, sort of the idea with these frequencies, like these audio frequencies, being able to induce people into trance-like states, to even, like we talk about consciousness on this show often. And so is it the idea that maybe through these meditative states, this music, these acoustic tones are actually maybe the first step toward, well, I don't know, like an ascension process, or, right, maybe being able to speak with those machine elves of the DMT fame or something like that. It seems like it there's something to this. I mean, I think everybody out there can definitely admit that, music will definitely can increase or decrease your mood and like the power you feel behind like your humanity, right? If you put on something you absolutely love and it's just a positive charge, even if kind of you're having a crummy day, it still has a way of lifting you up, doesn't it?
Absolutely. In fact, funny you should bring that up, because I've got a mutual friend who was telling me just the other day, Alejandro was telling me just the other day, that how she went gone to a bar, went dancing for the first time in like so long, and it was like such a big relief. And I was saying how that had happened for me New Year. It's been so long, And music is, Alejandro was saying, and same for me, and same for my friend I went out with New Year. Music for us, in fact, loads of people I know, music is one of the one things that can really move you. I used to know someone that used to always cry at a concert, but it's happiness, you know. And I think, yeah, there's something to it. And of course, everything in the universe has got a kind of tone or the rhythms and frequencies associated. So there are natural rhythms anyway, you know.
Yeah,
it seems kind of inherent. In fact, talking about dancing, it made me, in my associative mind, it made me think of the the dancing plague of 1518. So maybe they went a bit too far with the odd music stuff.
The dancing plague. I do recall that one barely. Can you fill me in with a 30-second brief on that?
Yeah, just a quick one. It was just an anomalous thing that happened in history. In 1518, there was a dancing epidemic, and it was so bad. There was a case of dancing mania, and people were just dancing till they dropped. Between 50 and 400 people were just dancing for days. That's not ideal, really.
Okay, so don't do that. No dancing for days. That sounds like it should be a Bruce Springsteen song, by the way. Dancing for days. Dancing for days.
Or maybe a Robert Palmer. I can see
maybe Robert Palmer. That works too. That totally works too. So that's what we're doing tonight. Again, we're taking your phone calls. So this idea, okay, the awesome power of sound. There's this thing called Archaeoacoustics. We'll get to that tonight. There's this thing called Cymatics. We'll get to that tonight. And the idea is that we are sort of born into that frequency, and we all have our own individual frequency. And for instance, right, like I cite this from time to time, there was the great earthquake in California back in 1989. Right, I was a wee lad, and I remember it well because I was out back playing baseball in the backyard with my brother. It was right before a World Series game. The A's and the Giants were about to play Bay Area World Series, and this earthquake hit, right, and we barely felt it, because not at all even. Like the people inside the house felt it. We didn't, because we were out running and throwing and swinging the bat and playing and catching, and you know, we didn't even feel it. But it turns out that one of the freeways in the Bay Area, the 880 freeway, I believe it was at the time, absolutely liquidated. It just collapsed, and it wasn't because of the shock of the earthquake itself. It was because of the frequency of that resonating tone that actually locked into the frequency of the freeway itself, and basically just liquidated it. The thing just turned into powder and just destroyed everybody underneath it. Lots of loss of life. It was a really horrific thing. But interestingly, that it wasn't the actual kinetic shock of the earthquake itself. It was the frequency of the vibration that melted that bridge. You know what I'm talking about, Rohan?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a good point. And I know that, well, it's probably speculation and stuff, but there's been movies about it and things where perhaps they were experimenting on this kind of harmonic resonance stuff for, you know, wonder weapons in the Second World War, you know, and things like that. And like you say, if you get the right tone, you know, you can break the crystal glass, as we always see with the trope of the opera singer, although I think the frequency needs to be a bit higher than you can hear. But yeah, I mean, this stuff counts, you know, and then I cast my mind back to, you know, like in the Bible, it talks about bringing down the walls of Jericho with trumpets. And then I think to this, again, Second World War, the bouncing bomb. The bomb didn't want enough to break a dam open. It was the shock wave. So it's liquid there, but it's kind of similar, isn't it? You're talking about a shock wave. And the same with the recent, a few years ago, there was an asteroid exploded over an area in Russia, wasn't it? And it was like an air bomb. And again, the shock wave blew out the windows rather than actual debris hit it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not just a sonic boom, but in the sense of everything has its own frequency, and if you can you know, what they say, when you break the glass, like it's a high C, right? Like if you can sing that pure high C, it'll high C note, it'll shatter the glass, right? Is that what I think? That's correct, at least from what I read.
That's it. You could do it with anything if you got the right frequency with the right thing. Potentially, you could make anything kind of fall apart, I guess. Sure. But isn't that, I mean, in the basic essence of that, isn't that talking harmony and disharmony? And perhaps another way, rather than making that sort of positive and negative thing, maybe we can think of that as the famous two-slit experiment, where you get in, you know, a band or an interference pattern. maybe it's something to do with this.
Yeah, it definitely could be. Definitely could be. So that's what's on deck tonight. That's what we're talking about. Cymatics, we're talking about Archaeoacoustics. And sorry if I cut out there. I just noticed, like, literally my little MIDI controller just clicked my voice off. So if I was quiet for a sec, you know what happened. Because you can't shut me up. You guys know you can't shut me up. I just keep talking. And anyway, so that's what's going on. So what do you know about this idea of actual frequency, about tones, about audio? The power of audio, basically, is what we're talking about. And is it possible that maybe the ancients used some of this power to maybe lift stones, as some have described? Back to the Coral Castle, I believe that's in Florida. They say that this guy had cracked the knowledge of the ancients and was able to build this entire Coral Castle by himself, like tons and tons of, was it a lime? Oh, must be coral, right? No, I don't think so. That doesn't sound right. But it was some sort of like heavy stone. I was going to say limestone. But he basically put this together himself, and the rumor is that he used it as he uncracked that secret of the ancients and was able to actually levitate these heavy stones.
He did say that. He literally said that, actually, that he managed to solve, I think he specifically said the Egyptians. He says he figured out what they did and how they built stuff. And I think he wrote a book as well, which was, I think it was about electromagnetism as well. I'll just quickly look that up.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what's on deck tonight. That's what we're talking about. And again, we're here with my good friend Rohan. That's the famous Liam Martin, and we're talking about the idea of we always talk about the Tesla quote: the energy, frequency, and vibration is what the universe is made of. That's what it was: energy, frequency, vibration. And the thing is that includes, of course, we talk about light. The idea of like light frequencies and photons, and like Rohan just brought up the double slit experiment, things like this, but also in that group of three is also audio frequency. And so, some of the rumors of the old school, the old school woo, I guess you could say, actually suggest that no, the pyramids weren't built by aliens. Now, you ready for some super double, triple woo factor? They were built, in fact, by people just using some sort of acoustic magic.
I was really hoping you was going to say dinosaurs.
No. Yeah, they used to load the rocks on the back of dinosaurs. No. That's too far out there for us. Come on, Rohan.
Have you seen the documentary called The Flintstones?
Oh yeah, I saw that with the brontosaurus burger, or they put on that. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so we're taking your phone calls tonight as we talk about this. Again, we're here with our good friend Liam Martin. We're going to get to this ancient code. All right, and it begins with the sailing stones of Egypt. So we're going to do that as soon as we get back. But the idea tonight is the awesome power of sound, the audio frequency. Is there a special power here that can not only take people into a state of, bliss, ascension, maybe meditation, or do you think it can actually levitate heavy objects? You tell me as we wind this down. We're going to go to a break here in just a minute, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you heard of this? Do you think this is correct? How do you have maybe a story about how audio frequency and waves actually affect you? Maybe you notice some things other people may not regarding exactly this. So once again, we're here with my good friend Liam Martin, the famous Liam Martin, Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, and we're talking about frequency. We're talking about audio frequency and vibration, and of course energy, because it is all encompassed in this case in audio, good old-fashioned acoustics. So, have you heard of this? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with Rohan, the famous Liam Martin, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. What about this energy, frequency, and vibration? By the way, the words we speak find you in the form of energy, frequency, and vibration. What are your thoughts? 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More of all this, the mighty Rohan, and more Troubled Minds and your calls on the way. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're here tonight with my good friend Liam Rohan Martin of the Exiled Minds podcast, and we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss, you got it, the bizarre and mysterious power of sound itself. Is it possible to put somebody in a trance? Is it possible to liquefy something very solid with just the particular frequency? That's what's on my mind tonight, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Again, we've talked about the power of music to move people, to put people in maybe a good trance, maybe, you know, or maybe put you in a bad mood. You ever had like a really, really rough and brutal song on that just kind of puts you in like I'm a murder of the world type of mood? You know what I mean? You got one of those songs that perks you up in that way, Mr. Mighty Rohan?
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but yeah, there's a couple of them, do you know what I mean? I tend to go for like hard boom bap hip hop if I'm in one of those moods. It's got that flavor in it.
Yeah, definitely. Or like a heavy metal, or, you know, just the thing that's like makes you want to sing along and do that. Right? Something like that. So good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so it's Raza moments, I call it Raza. So I call it in the Southeast Asia. You know, that like serious mode.
Yeah, exactly. Like the little meme of the hockey kid screaming. Like the rah, yeah, exactly. So I mean,
so the Braveheart moment, isn't it?
Exactly, like at the hockey game, and he's like what, like a year old maybe? It's so good, it's so good. Okay, but the idea here is, what do you know about this idea of the power of sound? Archaeoacoustics and Cymatics. Let's get to this article here and start with this, where what kind of spawned the premise. This is from ancientcode.com, okay? And it starts like this. Apart from the mystery of construction, it's talking about the pyramids, of course, there is another missing link. What happened to the tools? Also, why don't we see recorded information explaining these astounding construction methods? And of course, that's, you know, levitating stones with the power of sound or frequency. It says this article continues, and again, all the links are in the description. You can find all the sources from where we got this information from. Please go double check us. We're not making this stuff up, at least fully. We got it sourced, and if you think it's too woo for you, well, call us and tell us. It's all good. Were these methods purposely kept a secret, it says, or have the answers been staring us in the face all along? Is the reason we haven't found clear evidence of tools because one of the tools is ephemeral sound and vibrations, and is another reason because we have misunderstood the tools used? Now, there's this thing called the Sailing Stones of Egypt. Check this out. One ancient account from an ancient Arab historian and geographer suggests that the Egyptians used sound to transport huge blocks of stone. Known as the Herodotus of the Arabs, he recorded a centuries-old legend by 947 AD. According to Mysterious Universe, the legend goes like this. When building the pyramids, their creators carefully positioned what was described as magical papyrus underneath the edges of the mighty stones that were to be used in the construction process. Then, one by one, the stones were struck by what was curiously and rather enigmatically described only as a rod of metal. We'll get to that in a sec. Lo and behold, the stones then slowly began to rise into the air, and like dutiful soldiers unquestioningly followed orders, proceeding in slow, methodical, single-file fashion a number of feet above a paved pathway, surrounded on both sides by similar, mysterious metal rods. The metal rods. Doesn't that seem suspiciously familiar, my friend, Mr. Rohan? Metal rods that you tap on something that do what?
Well, it sounds like they're tuning something. But that description, mine will segue there. But that description reminds me of the exact same description of the tradition of Easter Island, where they say, well, you know, the woo-woo explanation of that is, well, they say they made the statues walk there, right? Sounds kind of similar, doesn't it? Soldiers in line.
It does. It does.
Is it a thread?
Yeah, it makes me wonder about them soldiers of the Chinese fame there, of the first emperor, and those soldiers. Can you tap like a tuning fork and bring them alive.
Yeah, oh, dude. Yeah, could be onto something there. And then you think, I don't know, you've got my head in the spin now, because you can use crystals, can't you? Quartz crystals to do low-level programming. So what if, I don't know, what if it's got a quartz-like structure in the stone, like a lot of stones have, you know? Had the program with maneuvers.
There you go. No such thing as too much woo for Rohan. He's ready to take it all. All right, so we're taking your phone calls. What do you know about this? So this idea that they used, so these tools, what they're describing them as, let's go back to this article real fast. And so you'll see what we mean by a tuning fork. They've got these individuals, like this is a Anubis with what's known as a WAS scepter, W-A-S. And if you look at the photograph here, or the, let's say cartouche depiction, modern depiction of this, the top has sort of like what appears to be a handle, and the bottom has what appears to almost exactly be a tuning fork. And this supposedly is one of the tools they used. Like tuning forks like we have, you tap it on something and it resonates at a particular frequency. Like it's how in the old days, that's how you would tune your instruments. You'd tap the thing, it would hum at like the frequency of an A note, you would tune your A string, and then you could tune everything from there, right? But in this case, we're talking about maybe superpowers with sound. Pretty wild stuff, huh? So oddly enough, papyrus placed underneath these gigantic stones, and then they tap this metal object that begins vibrating, and they say the stones levitate. What else you got on that, my friend?
See, there we are. So now we're getting to it, and I'm looking at this image here, seeing the guy holding the rod, and I noticed he's got the ever-present Ankh in the other hand. So I'm thinking that if these things are a technology and they're doing something, I'm thinking the Ankh is part of it as well. So I wonder is that some way to turn it off, or is that a calibrating tool? I don't know.
So let's say you tap the fork and the resonance comes, and then you're maybe tuning with the Ankh itself as you turn it left and right. Maybe it changes. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, definitely good stuff.
It's always there. That Ankh's so prominent, isn't it? In fact, England's called Ankland originally. So,
is it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, totally. It's crazy. I know, nuts, but true.
Ankland.
Because it was actually Africans that founded Europe originally. That's another, I don't know. It's a crazy world, Mike.
It's a crazy world. Yes, it is. Indeed, it is. We're taking your phone calls. What do you know about this idea of these, maybe, these sailing stones of Egypt? Do you believe it's actually possible that through some sort of frequency, this gigantic tuning rod, maybe this Ankh in hand, something going on here that we're actually able to levitate giant stones? We're going to get to the Coral Castle tonight and the rest of this stuff as well. But is this real? Again, like always, right? Like you have to take everything we talk about. For me personally, I just take it with a grain of salt, because maybe, right? Like back to the maybe juice. Let's consider it. Is this possible? If it's possible, let's talk about why or why not, and that's what this is about. So don't get me wrong. Just because I talk about it doesn't mean I believe all this stuff 100%, but I think some of it's compelling enough that we should talk about it, and here we are. So one more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show just like this. Let's go to Vicky in Illinois. What's up, Vicky? Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Rohan. Go right ahead, my friend.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Rohan.
Hello. Good evening, Vicky.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was watching some videos on YouTube the other day, and it was some different things that was made from a university. I don't remember the university's name right now, but it's here in the U.S., and they've done research that proves different frequencies of music or sound can actually kill different viruses and kill cancer cells.
I've heard this. So before you go any further, I have to say, we're not physicians, and this is not medical advice. All right, go ahead, my friend. Go ahead. Just so you don't get me in trouble. But go ahead.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard that. So not only that, we have some weird stuff going on with this audio in that there's not just this sort of idea, this ancient idea of, not like you're describing, these healing frequencies, like maybe healing the psyche, the soul, maybe healing depression or curing insomnia. There's a whole bunch of that type of stuff regarding audio frequencies, even levitating heavy objects. But then talking in terms of what you're describing, there have been studies to suggest there's something here that we haven't quite tapped into. Am I right?
Yes.
Absolutely. So do you have...
I've not ever heard of the thing about levitating.
Okay. All right.
With the sound.
Okay, that's fine. So welcome to it. Woo woo for you.
Well, it's more for me to learn about.
Perfect. So
and
do you... Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say that my ex-husband is a doctor, and he was always using, like, the tuning forks and stuff, trying to prove things, like with the tuning forks, about patients.
Oh, okay. So in that, there is some sort of connection with, like, maybe ailments and these frequencies, these vibrations of audio.
Yes.
That's pretty wild.
Yes.
Do you have a story for us about music and how maybe it's picked up your mood or dropped your mood or wanted to turn you into a heavy metal thrasher and destroy the earth? And, like, you know what I mean? Like, sort of those emotional highs and lows of music.
No,
do you have a story about that?
Yeah, there's certain musics I like to listen to, especially if I'm depressed. I need certain musics to give myself an uplifting feeling. And there's certain musics I don't want to listen to because it just pisses me off.
and it puts you in a worse mood, right? Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So meaning, just in that anecdote, we've got one more idea to add to this avalanche of what's becoming evidence at some point, that it does, musical notes and the frequency of sound itself can actually alter people's moods. And apparently, according to the ancients and some other ideas here, it goes way deeper than that. This rabbit hole goes way deep. What else you got for us tonight, my friend?
That should do it.
Perfect.
I just wanted to share that today.
Appreciate that very much. Vicky, thank you so much for listening. Say hi to Adonna for us. Always a pleasure.
Will do.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
All right, you take care.
You too.
And nice seeing you back on, Rohan.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate that. I really mean that. Thanks, Vicky. Oh, yeah, the time zones. But Vicky, I've got an awesome treat for you. I'll send you a video. We're showing you some acoustic levitation. Well, I'll give it a mention in a bit, but you'll love it. It'll be brilliant.
All right, wonderful. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thanks for the phone call, Vicky. Appreciate you listening. There you go. Easy as that. You guys want to be part of the show? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And what's your take on that, Mr. Rohan, before we move on to the next spot here?
Yeah, that was. I thought that was a good point. Yeah, you have to be careful around this subject, but she's absolutely right. A quick Google search yielded the NIH have been kind of looking into this in terms of using microwaves, acoustic vibrations in viruses. They've been studying that. Live Science, there's an article from 2008. New ways to kill viruses, shake them to death. You know, so it's not that wild out there to be looking at these kinds of things, is it? You know, and I think what it's coming to, at least to my mind, is that a lot of these things are kind of, my premise is we're kind of starting to rediscover things that we've known before. And there's always been this presumption that, a progression in any direction obviously is better, and we're obviously the most advanced if we're contemporary, and it's just a massive assumption, isn't it? You know, which we'll get into the reasons why it's just kind of silly. But yeah, I thought it was a great point Vicky brought up there, and yeah, there's quick Google search, you'll find stuff on that, what she mentioned.
Oops, muted myself. Exactly. And so I think the weirdness of it is, like Rohan's saying, we got to be careful because if you say something slightly out of context and it sounds like you're trying to tell people to cure cancer, and that's not what we were saying, but right, you get it. Like if it can be taken that way, then they can take you down. So don't do that. I highly recommend you don't do that on YouTube, just so you know. But okay, so that's what we're talking about tonight. This awesome power of sound. This thing called Archaeoacoustics and Cymatics. We're going to get to both of those things as we go tonight. But the where we begin is this spot, right? This spot right here. This is from ancientcode.com, and they're describing the saline stones of Egypt, meaning that again they had papyrus they placed underneath these gigantic stones. Presumably, it doesn't really state specifically what was happening, but I guess maybe some sort of magic ritual, sort of spell-like stuff was written on this papyrus. You think that's probably the case, Rohan?
Well, I don't know about. So when you say a spell on it, then that gets sticky because, like, I wouldn't say writing. I wouldn't have thought that no matter what the markings are, writing markings on some papyrus ain't gonna make something levitate on its own, is it? Do you know what I'm saying? But if we was getting into the magic stuff, then that's something completely different, isn't it? And then, you know, I don't know if there's spells that can be cast to do stuff and you do them on the astral level in your OBE on that spot in your astral place, which, you know, is designated to a real spot where people do a ritual. I don't know, maybe it'll work then, but I think there's something more to it. And I think you mentioned something earlier which got me a bit excited about it, Mike, with the metamaterials. And I thought it was more that direction.
Yeah, we got a UFO connection with this as well, which we'll get to as we go tonight as well. So we got a few things on deck here. So right now we're talking about this idea of the saline stones of Egypt and what they've described this as maybe some sort of ritual. And that's why I kind of want to bring up magic in terms of maybe this is we're missing. The piece we're missing is what exactly? They take papyrus, they put it underneath these gigantic, like tons and tons and tons big type stones, and then they tap some sort of device, like what appears to be a tuning fork, like a gigantic tuning fork, and this resonance of the sound itself was said to have levitated these stones and allowed them to build the pyramids. And not just the pyramids, Stonehenge has been rumored to have built this way, other megalithic structures in history as well. It's not just ancient Egypt. It's just probably the one that people are most familiar with because of it's the only ancient wonder of the world still standing. So I can
exactly, and it's the first one as well. So it's going to be enigmatic. But you're right to bring that up, Michael. It's a good poignant point. So I'm going to reiterate it. These kinds of things can be found all over the world. You know, so it's not like it's isolated to, you know, one particular group, which is why, you know, part of the premise of this for me is it that we've, like you say, Mike, have we misinterpreted what we're looking at, and the tools are staring us in the face, you know, all along, and there's this evidence and that people could build these megaliths. Obviously they're there, somebody's built them, so it stands to reason there's so many things that we can't do that's, you know, that they could do in the ancient past, or that it's a bit better in the ancient past. So for me it's like, was there a global civilization, like I say, that's, you know, been sort of forgotten? Is this a massive part of our history missing? Is this the bit that's sort of missing link in our history, sort of thing? And that's where I'm going with this, from my thinking.
Yeah, which sort of leads back to the idea of the ancient stuff, like back to Atlantis and back to Lemuria and things like this. That if there were these ancient civilizations with, Atlantis, in terms, they say that they had the woo-woo theory there goes that they had this advanced technology, but it was built on crystals. They were actually able to store information in crystals, very much like Superman carrying his father in a crystal from in the little pod from what's the thing called Krypton, right, from the planet Krypton. He never knew his father, actually Night Stalker pointed this out a while ago as well. He never knew his father. It's a replica, a data replica of his father through a crystal technology, with his father's basically consciousness, or I don't know, holographic personage is built into this crystal itself. And that's very similar to that idea of the advanced power that Atlantis wielded based on crystals and maybe these frequencies and resonance type stuff that we, like you described, maybe we forgot a long time ago. And Graham Hancock says a lot of this stuff, doesn't he, regarding maybe not the woo-woo powers and things like this, but we're foolish to consider that technology now is the cat's meow. And I'm a poet and I don't even know it.
Yeah. Well, we'll get on to Graham Hancock. I've got a bit to do on him, which kind of pulls a lot of this stuff together and answers the question, if this stuff's happened, all this mega stuff's happened in the past, why don't we know? As average Joes, me and you on the street, why don't we all know about this? So we'll get into that next, and Graham Hancock has helped us a lot with this. But I just want to jump back to that point of Derek with the crystals. Now that's interesting, because we see that in the Marvel films where you've got Tony Stark's recorded a hologram, right? So when he passes away in one of the movies, and then he's got his hologram left over, and then we see it in Black Mirror. We see where there was that episode where, based on somebody's social media activity, they was able to recreate a version of a person, put it in an android, and then it can act like as a replacement. Do you know what I'm saying? And I thought that is kind of fascinating. And then I think to the crystal skulls, they're quartz crystal skulls, and they said that they were transferring a consciousness, using the skull as a medium to transfer the consciousness from the dying shaman into the new initiate, so they could get his knowledge straight up. Do you know what I'm saying? Get a download. So it's like this. I don't know. It's been there, and then that exact thing is what happens in X-Men Apocalypse, where there's an X-Man that is able to switch consciousness, so he grabs mutant powers along the way. It keeps coming up. So you have to ask the question, don't you, Michael?
Exactly. Too woo for you, or do you think there's something to this is the question. What's up, Ross? I see there. Ross is new, a long-time listener, first time hopping into the live stream. What's going on, Ross? I see you out there. I see you, buddy. Thanks for hanging out with us. So that's what we're doing tonight, discussing this idea of acoustic power. All right. Well, everybody knows music can affect your mood. I'm sure everybody out there has a story regarding that, and we want to hear your stories too about maybe a time where music has picked you up from maybe your darkest moment. Right? Like there's lots of stories like that. It just has this healing resonance to it if it's done correctly. Right? Real music. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to be a music snob. I just mean there's like a sort of a resonance to the differences between the notes and the frequencies, and they're called steps, and
absolutely the same with our power outlets. You get harmonized electricity, don't you, or not harmonized, and so they call that kind of dirty electricity, which is what we mostly get because they don't want to spend the money on earthing it properly, sort of thing. And it's known that in studies of people driving, you're more aggressive with more fast-paced music, and more aggressive in your driving. And I noticed that after my sister, who was into rock music, so she tends to drive more aggressive with certain tracks, So, and cats, of course, the purrings, known to help healing and knit bones together. So there's certainly something to this.
We'll get to that as well. We got an article shared by Kelly that was in the Discord that we were talking about the show tonight, and Rohan's like, Kelly just shared an article about the healing power of audio on people's bones. We'll get to that as well tonight. Looking to hear from you. What do you know about the idea of archaeoacoustics, cymatics, this idea that acoustic resonance, sound itself, can not only heal, but possibly, almost, maybe, according to some ancient sources, levitate rocks that weigh tons? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're here with the famous Liam Martin, the mighty Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. More acoustic, how do you say it? I can't say it. Archaeoacoustics and cymatics, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
Alright, so maybe
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. Been asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Yo ho, yo ho. Welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are here with my good friend Liam Martin, the mighty Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, and we'd like to say hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It's Thursday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about, you may wonder? I'll sum it up. There's too much. I'll sum it up. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Tonight, as I said, we're here with Rohan, and we're discussing this idea of archaeoacoustics and cymatics. The idea that sound has some sort of latent power built into its frequency itself. And so, well, what does that mean? Does it mean healing emotions? Does that mean setting people right in maybe a sense of, well, what would you say? Maybe meditative state, maybe some sort of any of this, right? Even levitating ancient megalithic stones. This is the type of stuff we're talking about tonight, because why not? If we don't, who's gonna? I think that's the thing. So let's. What we're doing tonight, of course, we're streaming live on Rockfan, YouTube, D Live, and Twitter. We're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link and find the phone number at troubledminds.org. Please also join the Discord at fringe.fm/chat and download the Fringe app at the iTunes and Android App Store. Completely free. Easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds. Smash the play button. 7 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday. You'll get me, you'll get us, you'll get Troubled Minds crew, gang. Well, are we a gang now? We got cuchillos. Like, hey, back off, I'll cut you. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a bad joke. But anyway, all right, so let's get to, we got some calls to get to, so let's get to our good friend Liam Martin, the mighty Rohan. Welcome back to Troubled Minds, my friend. Are you there? Test 1, 2. How does the UK find you?
How does say again, sorry? How
does the UK find you, my friend? Go right ahead.
It doesn't. I hide from it all the time. It's time to find me out.
Okay, right.
No, just kidding. No, I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate it. Yeah, things are cool, man. We're getting some sunshine. I saw a blue sky earlier, momentarily.
Nice. Okay, all right, perfect. We've had sunshine here for weeks now. You're lagging, bro. You're totally lagging. We have the Vegas sunshine. So the idea tonight is this: we're talking about, of course, archaeoacoustics and cymatics. This idea that sound has some sort of latent power built into it based on the frequency of the sound itself. So what does that mean? It means a lot of things, but of course we know about the idea that music can lift you up. Music can bring you down, right? Music can do all kinds of things because it's built on not just the vocal, which of course is a human emotive part, but what about the frequency of the notes themselves? That's the crazy part here. And well, what about notes that we've never considered? What about notes between notes? What about what the ancients considered notes that maybe we haven't tuned into a particular exact frequency or intervals or steps or sense or whatever you want to call these things, the differences between the notes in Western music? Maybe they weren't using that system at all, and it was some sort of archaic, powerful system. Quick take on that, and then we'll go to some phone calls, Rohan.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, I mean, what's the most readily available musical instrument? It's the human voice, right? So sound and vibration, and we've been doing this since forever anyway, using sound for stuff. Yeah, and I don't know, man. There's something in all of this. I think definitely. Like I say, we'll get into some of the reasons why it's not known and some of the potential evidence and that. But yeah.
All right, definitely good stuff. Matt in California says everyone has one instrument. Your voice. Absolutely. I'm not sure who was first, so I just grabbed Daryl there because she was on the bottom of the thing. Welcome, Daryl in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Rohan. Go right ahead. Can you hear me? Test 1 2. Daryl in New York. Test 1 2. Testing 1 2. All right. Tell you what. Stay right there. Get it set up. Let's go to Dre in South Carolina. Dre, are you there? Test 1 2. You're on with Rohan and Mike, if you can hear us. Test 1 2.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Hello. Hi. How are you?
Hi. How are you doing tonight?
Doing very well. Thanks for asking. So what's your take here? You think there's something to this, or you think we're off the woo train here?
Well, I love the woo train. I will ride it all day long if I can. But one thought I had was Michael Tellinger's research into South African stone circles. During his discovery of over 100,000 ancient megalithic stone circles down there.
No sound. Hello?
Oh, Daryl's here.
Hello. Wait a second. There. Oh, okay. I got it. Now I do.
Okay. Please mute up, Daryl. Please mute up, Daryl. We'll get to you in a sec.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Sorry, Drake. Go ahead.
So during his research into these megalithic stone circles in South Africa that were built tens of thousands of years ago, he discovered these two stones that, when struck together, would levitate other objects. So that was my first thought when it came to oh man, I forgot how to say that word. Say it again for me. Archaeoacoustics, right? Archaeoacoustics when it comes to ancient structures being built by sound. Also, the Tibetan monasteries that are built way high on cliffs. It's practically impossible for anybody to climb up a sheer cliff with these massive giant stones in order to build these monasteries. But then I had another thought that related to Dr. Emoto's studies with water and rice in jars, and how the sounds and the words that he would speak to them would create different patterns, and it would actually make the rice either stay fresh for longer or mold faster when he spoke negative frequencies to them. If he said, I hate you, I loathe, or, all these negative things to them. So, I think sound has a lot to do with everything that we experience in our life, because our thoughts are frequencies, our words are power, and however you think about your world and however you speak about your world really determines how your world is going to be.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It was one I knew I hadn't considered because we were going super woo, but there have been studies where they have that, like you said, it seems ridiculous, but like people screaming at their plants, right? And like the ones that get like Mozart music and kind of like lovingly whispered to in the morning versus the ones that get screamed at. Everything else is the same, but like the ones that get like the love from our voice, they tend to thrive, and the other ones, well, don't. It's so bizarre.
No, they mold and die so fast just from the words spoken to them. You can't. Granted, this is a man in his lab with jars of rice and water and doing his own thing, his own way of going about this experiment. But still, like, his results have been replicated. You know what I mean? Like, just the fact that you're speaking positive words or negative words to anything, and it changes their whole being, their whole structure, their whole cellular life. That's insane. But not really when you consider the fact that literally if you speak negatively about your world, if you speak positively about your life and your relationships and everything that goes around you, I mean, that does affect change. It reprograms your mind. That's kind of the whole basis of what magic is all about, is about the force of that energy, about that frequency directed into your life in order to affect these kinds of changes.
Yeah, and I would back that up and say that, and physiologically, with psychology studies, the reason the positive affirmations thing work is because you're literally reprogramming your nervous system, you know. And we have this peculiar anomaly where when we're depressed, we literally can't remember what it feels like to be happy. So you have to reprogram it back. With the positive affirmations, even though you feel rubbish, you have to just keep doing the motions, don't you, until you don't, you know?
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. I know it seems like it's such a new age BS kind of way to go about changing your life, but literally talking positive. I'm trying real hard, man. Speaking positively about yourself and your life, like just saying like, I am loved, I am beautiful, I excel in my life, I am good at my job, I do well in my relationships. Just even repeating these simple affirmations in your life, it's not about the woo aspect of it. It's literally about the repetition of the words you speak and the sound that and how it affects your own neural pathways. It literally changes how you think about your world. If you're able to tell yourself all these positive things instead of constantly telling yourself, I'm worthless, it doesn't matter if I'm here or not, nobody likes me, yada yada yada. It's our voice carries so much power, it's unbelievable. And that's why what you said when you mentioned that someone in chat was talking about how the instrument that everyone has on hand is your voice. In my opinion, the voice is the most powerful instrument in music to ever exist. I mean, when you listen to, if you're not into opera, even if you don't understand it and you're not quite into it, when you listen to an aria of an emotional scene in whatever opera it's from, you're going to feel it in your bones. And even if opera isn't your thing, even if you're listening to a rapper doing a hip-hop song, whatever they're saying, whatever frequencies those are hitting your brain, the words that are mixed with the sound of the music going behind it is going to hit you on a level that I don't think any other art form can really reach.
Agreed, 100%. And it's funny you say that. Like, I was struck when I, being green and young and stupid, like we all were way back when I first went to college, went to a humanities class. I sat through an entire semester of them playing operas, and I was like, WTF? What am I doing here? Like, what is this crap? But right, like you said, like you sit there and you can't help but feel sort of that like chill up your spine when like the moment comes and like the tension builds and they just slam that note and you're just like, oh God, I feel that, right? It's totally a thing, 100%. And it clearly, like we were saying, like with that vocal resonance, you can destroy things. And so, right, like you can like that liquidation of that bridge in that California earthquake, or that high C note, like they say, that it can break glass. So like these resonances can also not just heal and do like you're describing and sort of give you that feel it in your bones, bring you up sort of humanity's situation. But then in the same vein, like this is frequencies that can destroy things as well. Pretty wild, huh?
Also,
for sure. Sorry, go ahead, Rohan.
Thank you. Sorry to cut you off there, but also in terms of what Dre was saying, in terms of the emotion of a human voice has also got the human intention and the consciousness on it, right? So then I'm thinking you've got that on the carrier wave from the sound as well, aren't you? You know.
Exactly, and who, as an adult in this life that's gone through any sort of relationship, romantic relationship, or even just a a deep friendship, if that falls apart and this person that you care so much about, that you love so much, says the words that they know that can cut deep to your core, but it's really just words, but you know their intention behind it is to hurt you and to get you away from them. How does that not hurt much more than some stranger on the internet saying, get the F away from me, you're a effing idiot, or whatever? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, or if you're in a particularly if you're in a place where you're not particularly strong, you're distressed or whatever, and somebody kind of rants at you, it's like your structure and integrity is failing right now. So if somebody rants at you, it's like an extra pressure of an attack. And like you say, it's only words. They say sticks and stones will break your bones, but words won't hurt you. But they can because of, like you say, the meaning you attach to it. Which means that in this case, when it comes to talking, that sound wave in particular, actually, it goes out of the physical world and into the world of consciousness. So it permeates both of them. And consciousness, as far as I'm concerned, is like almost a separate world to physics, because it says that our brain generates it, even though there's no evidence. Do you know what I mean? So it's like a whole new smorgasbord of stuff, isn't it? So when sound waves are getting into our consciousness and we've got the human intention on it, as we see with the two slit experiment, you know, it makes a literal difference with the universe. And I think that's sort of what you're getting at, isn't it?
No, that's exactly what I was getting at. I was going to say that same childhood quote that we were all taught in order to protect ourselves against, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. But when you have an emotional attachment with someone, when you have that connection with someone, honestly, the words will hurt way more than any kind of physical interaction could. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
so if they have that kind of power, then do you think if enough people believed in certain words, as Michael mentioned earlier, if you wrote certain words that people believed in on a parchment, can that then make something levitate by willpower and belief? Right? Because if our consciousness is all that there is that a method of penetrating the barrier, so you become both, aren't you? The so-called oneness of the New Age stuff. If you actually get oneness, then you can be the cloud, can't you? And suggest to rain. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I understand what you're getting at. When it comes to written spells, whenever you write them down, I feel like the person that's writing them down gives them more power by writing them down. I think that power from that person putting into the physical action of putting that pen to paper, or however they wrote it down back on papyrus, you know what I mean? That power was there, and it just enhanced whatever they were trying to do. When it comes to future generations trying to reenact that same spell, or however it was written down, whenever it was written down, you also have to take those words, imbue it with your own consciousness, with your own power, with your own energy, in order to get the same type of force required to make that spell happen in real time. Now, I'm not saying that written spells are useless if you don't have that to back it. I think they still hold power, because whoever created it obviously imbued it with some sort of their own energy and some sort of their own power. However, no, I don't think anything written down back in the day is going to inherently hold some sort of ultimate power. I think it all depends on the user and the reader and the rewriter of those words and those spells in order to make them happen in our current existence.
Great stuff, Trey. Thank you. We got Daryl on deck, so let's pop to her real quick. If you want to stay right there, you're welcome to. Just you can listen from right where you're at. Just mute up, and we'll get back to you a little bit later if you're cool hanging out a little bit. You okay with that?
Sure, thank you.
Okay. Pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for the phone call. I appreciate it very much. And that's Dre in South Carolina. Quickly becoming a fantastic caller of Troubled Minds, and even a contributor, I might say. Thank you so much for all the amazing takes. You're very, very, let's say, on point. I'll just call it that. Thank you so much for the phone call. MJ in the chat says, this caller is smart. There you go. That's what I tried to say, but just the roundabout way. Thanks, Dre. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Daryl, are you there? Test 1, 2. Can you hear us? You're on with Mike and Rohan and, of course, Dre. Go right ahead.
Hi, guys. This is a great subject. Great call, Dre. I'm so happy to see Rohan again. I love this topic. It's so exciting. It makes me very hyped up. It's so hot. really hot. Okay, so I wanted to bring up two things and really fast. Okay, Dr. Luc Montagnier, who's the French Nobel laureate, he just passed away. He discovered HIV. He co-discovered HIV. He also was studying something that they were trying to, not talk about too much, but it was called water memory. And I just want to quickly describe what he had discovered. That he could take, he took an HIV molecule and put it in water, diluted it, and diluted that water again up to 10 times, which is the equivalent of putting a drop of water into an ocean, okay? He recorded the frequency of that water. Now, there's no HIV in the water anymore. It's totally gone. There's not one molecule of HIV in this diluted water. He took the frequency of the water, put it into a program, emailed it to somebody across the world. They put it in water, and they were able to recreate the HIV DNA molecule from that water, the water sound and the resonance of it. And this was something he was studying that they didn't want to support. They put him in a little trailer. They took away all his funding that he got when he won the Nobel laureate, And, they didn't want to really pay much attention to it because it was basically the idea of it all was to be able to cure, with the right technology that would cost a fortune, ultimately would cure just about anything for free. That was the whole premise of it. I just wanted to bring up his name so we don't forget how important he was and how important he could have been if he had not died. Untimely death at 89. Okay, whatever. Who knows? Whatever. Anyway, the second thing I wanted to bring up was the monks that were treating cancer with vibrations just because of their intent. They had a word that they would think about and their intent, and they would chant, and they could actually dissolve a tumor away with their chanting. And this was one shot and you're done. And they had, I think maybe Vicky watched the same thing. I'm not sure if it was the same program, but this is the same idea, the concept of how to cure these kind of diseases. And they have an existing hospital in China that uses this technology today, and they've pretty much healed everybody that has ever come there in China. So who knows? It's all good stuff. That's all I'm saying.
It's all good stuff.
I think it's very positive.
Hey, Daryl is a singer, by the way, for those of you that don't know. She's got a YouTube channel. Please check it out. Links in the description, of course. Also, Rohan, the Exiled Mind podcast, is linked in the description. Please check it out. So, Daryl, have you heard of this situation where you can sing a high C note and break a glass of wine or whatever?
I can sing a high C note, and I've tried it. It didn't work. I don't know. I used to have a C above high C even. I had a very big range when I was younger. I'm not sure I could still hit that other high C, but I could still hit the regular high C. I never broke a glass though, but I know it can happen. I just don't know how to do it, perhaps.
That's okay. Yeah. So maybe not just the note itself, maybe some technique involved. Rohan, quick take on that. We got to bounce. By the way, Daryl, we cut you a little bit short there. If you want to hang out, we'll take you after the break as well. Okay.
No problem. You can.
All right. Please mute up. I'll get right back to you ASAP. Go ahead, Rohan, and let's wrap this down to the commercial.
Yeah, just quick. Yeah, I think to be technically accurate, I think that thing about breaking a crystal glass, I think it's actually a myth because the pitch you have to get goes beyond the range of human hearing. I do believe. I might want to look that up, but I'm pretty sure.
That sounds legit to me. Like I said, a lot of these things, are they real or are they not? Daryl said she tried it. I have no hope of doing that unless I just take a hammer. That glass dies every time. Do you want to be part of the show tonight? We're talking about the awesome power of sound. Archaeoacoustics and Cymatics. We're here with the mighty Rohan, the famous Liam Martin, and we'll be right back with Daryl as well. 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds on the way. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we're here with our good friend, the mighty Rohan, Liam Martin of the Exiled Minds podcast. And we got Daryl on the phone as well. And we're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, D-Live, and Twitter. We're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss this idea of sound resonance having some sort of unknown power. The Egyptians are said to have had, what are they called? Sailing stones, where they put papyrus underneath these super gigantic blocks of rock, tapped some sort of maybe, I don't know, esoteric tuning fork, and these stones levitated. What do you think? Is this a bunch of BS, or do you think this could possibly be real? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Let's get back to the mighty Liam Martin, and then we'll get to Daryl after that. Are you there? Are you there? Rohan, test 1.
Certainly am.
Test 1, 2. Anything to add to that before we get back to Daryl?
No. There you go, Haz. We'll get into the Graham Hancock stuff next. So,
okay, perfect. Sounds good. All right, let's go back to Daryl in New York. Go right ahead, my friend.
Hi, Mike. Okay, one last thing I wanted to bring up is something I saw in the chat room about maybe that frequency created those mud floods that we have been talking about recently, about Tartaria and maybe the resets, and maybe that was some sort of a vibrational mechanism that they used to kind of create another reset. And how often does this happen? And how often does history repeat itself? And what technology was used for the great resets? And what technology is going to be used for this reset?
Oh.
Is it already in place? And it's not going to be vibrations. It might be something a little more sinister, like, I don't know, some sort of medication that somehow now apparently is being, I just read today, doesn't matter if you take it, you can get it from somebody who has. And it's being, leaking. It's a leaky kind of situation. Where you can, I don't know. I don't know.
Or maybe robots under the ground, like War of the Worlds. Could be that.
Something like whatever.
Thank you for dodging. Definitely dodging exactly what you were trying to say. I think we're picking up what you're putting down. I think that's the thing. So like I described previously, sound can be used as a weapon, right? So we talk about music bringing people up, and this idea that maybe the ancient Egyptians had some sort of power with these gigantic tuning forks and papyrus and whatever was happening, whether you want to call it magic or not. It is said, written in like an ancient history from about 937 AD, I believe it is, that they believe that they were able to actually levitate these stones based on audio frequencies. But then, right, if we talk about audio bringing people up through music, we talk about this sort of situation with things that we don't know about, which we'll get to UFOs as we go tonight as well. This ties in so many ways. But what about using sound as a destructive weapon? And that's kind of what you're describing here. I think perfect that it back to intention, back to the power, back to Havana syndrome. They say it might be an acoustic weapon and not just a microwave weapon. It's the actual projected energy would be audio energy. So I think so I think we're sort of in this weird space in between all these things. But we got calls for days behind you. So give us your final thought. We'll jump into some of these calls. You're welcome to stay right where you're at. Of course, mute up, and we'll get to you a little bit later if you're cool with it.
Okay, no, I'm good. Let the next guy roll. This is a great show. Okay. Talk to you soon. I'll be right here.
Appreciate it, Daryl. Thank you. Rohan, take on that. Anything to add?
No, great points there. So it's all great points, and like I said, it's suggested this show. I think this stuff's really, really fascinating. But we'll get to more. We'll get to more of that. There's more to come. Like you say, Mike, it goes in all sorts of directions, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. So, all right, let's do it. Let's get to Jack in Oregon. Welcome to Troubled Minds. You're on with Mike and Rohan. Go right ahead, my friend.
Hello again.
Hello. Good evening, sir. Go right ahead. What's on your mind? Do you think there's some sort of latent power hidden in sound we haven't untapped yet?
Oh, haven't untapped yet. I think it's been around forever, but I don't know about levitating blocks and stuff like that. But I do like the topic. I love it. I have to wonder that if you took a huge, gigantic pie plate up to Canada and all the 500 truckers hopped on their horns, I wonder if it'd make a big, giant smiley face with sand on it.
There's only one way to find out, sir. Let's do it. Let's set up a field trip.
Oh, never know.
Go for
Anyway,
me.
but,
Do it, bro.
No, what I'm into the subject. What I really look at is like, if you've ever been to a movie, like the beginning of a movie, the middle of the movie, the end of the movie, or whatever, but you're in a theater with a really good sound system. You ever get like emotions and stuff that doesn't really correlate? It's just the sound that you're hearing before anything actually even happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like so almost like you precognitively sense it, or before you hear the sound, or when you start to hear the sound.
Right. Everybody in the theater precognitively feels it because the music's changing, because it's a force in the room, and it's a science too. It's a serious science.
Yeah, and it's literally, it's a great point, that, because music is literally talking to you. That's what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to be conversations, you know.
Well,
so
yeah,
it's cueing you, isn't it, beforehand? You start to get the high string comes in, and then the rumbling of the drums. You know, summer's coming.
For sure. Yeah, especially low notes, really low sounds. Like sometimes, like if you have really good speakers, you can't even like cognize it, but you're feeling it. You know what I mean? And then you like realize it communicates on another level that's kind of unconscious.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
What's beyond that?
I think so. It's like that.
Anyways, yeah.
I'm feeling it now. I'm imagining that when you get that kind of, that in the pit of your stomach. It's like an emotional thing, isn't it? I know what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. But I really liked what the previous caller was talking about being nice to people and stuff like that, because, well, I can sort of relate, and like I've just, I don't know. I've kind of had it in some ways, you know, with some things, and you got to be kind to people, definitely.
100%. Like I always say, you kind of never know what people are going through. So you gotta treat everybody like they're going through the worst of it. And if they're not, you're just picking everybody up one hello and one smile at a time, my friend. You're the best, Jack.
Well put, Mike. Well put.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.
Appreciate the call, Jack in Oregon. Always a pleasure. Have a fantastic evening. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. There you go. Easy as that. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We got MJ on deck. Anything else on that, Rohan, that you want to add to Jack's call there?
Yeah, that was a nice call. I'm glad it brought up that point of being nice to people, because that is true as well. You know, even in the cymatic patterns, the higher the frequency, the more complexity and the more sort of harmonious the patterns kind of thing, and the more kind of sort of beautiful they look in a way. So, yeah, great point.
100%. 702-957-1037. Let's go to MJ in Virginia. Welcome, my friend. You're on with Mike and Rohan. Go right ahead.
Hey, how's it doing? You triggered several things tonight, and Dre in North Carolina triggered one thing. Yeah, they can move things with, I think the Tibetan monks did that with the stones. That was a proven thing. Plus levitation. You can, through frequencies, through your own body, you're able to raise it up, and it's neutralizing gravity is what you're doing. So you can levitate. Question, these are things that have happened to me, so Rohan or Mike, either one of you, I have a ringing in my ear, and it's basically you're losing your hearing. Periodically it'll stop, and I can hear what sounds like Morse code in my left ear. Okay? Then it goes like dee-dee-dee-dee-dee like that at a lower tone, then it starts back up ringing. This is like every so often. The other day, the ringing stopped, but in my right ear I had a low continuous tone for like a minute or so, and then it stopped and the ringing started. All right. Now, my mom and I used to sit on the front porch, and one time we were out there, and she mentioned that her and my sister They were sitting on the front porch, and they heard what sounded like Morse code out in the front yard. And we were sitting there that day, and all of a sudden you can hear like Morse code, and he kept repeating the same pattern over and over again, but it was in the front yard, right? What else was? Oh yeah, Dre had mentioned something about spells, and at one time I was working in a very negative situation in a small business, and I had a particular job to do there, and everybody's extremely negative, and I was doing my qigong at one time, and there's one thing where you stand and you hold your arms out like you're hugging a tree, and you just breathe in and out, and, take in the earth, give back to the earth. And there's a saying with Hawaiian, saying they have, it's ho'oponopono. And it's supposed to be grateful, thank you kind of thing, you're giving back again. And my thoughts were on the people at work where every time they say something negative, they just have a sewing needle go straight into the throat, into the larynx box, into their voice box, just stab them. So they wouldn't say anything negative. And I kept doing that over and over until I, sort of ran out, or you sort of, run its course when you're doing that type of meditation. And I got up and left home. The next day I got to work, everybody that came in either one of the doors or walked through, either looked down at the floor, walked straight through, or walked in, bowed their heads down, and walked back out for like 2.5 days. So what she was saying about their spells is 100% right. You have to be committed to what you're doing. Also, the type of the words you choose for the meanings that they have are also something that projects the spell. So if it's something that's, let's say you're a wordsmith, and you choose words that maybe people haven't normally used or heard, but they have a very specific meaning to them in a way that it can curve things. If you're committed to what you're saying and you repeat it and that's your focus, then you can do stuff with that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know why? Because I'm a wordsmith, my friend. I tell the best dick and fart jokes you've ever heard. By the way, it's terms nobody's ever heard. It's incredible. I make up words myself. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I get what you're saying. Right. See, just the pure mention of a dick and a fart joke is funny. But no, okay. So again, they said this in the chat earlier too, so that these audio frequencies is also intention. So not just like the written word and sort of like a spell, parchment, papyrus like we described, but also the intention behind like a vocalization, right? Like if you shout at somebody, hey, shut up, stop what you're doing, right? It's like, it's the tone. It's like even though like the frequency of the voice is similar because, within my own, what do we call it, timbre of my voice, I can only do so much, especially if I'm not like, doing a falsetto or trying to sing or something. It's the vocalization is not just like the frequency of my particular speaking voice or even my raised voice. It's more about like the intent behind it. It seems to have some sort of additional power, right? Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to do security at a bar for eons, and I had no problem handling drug dealers, homeless people, prostitutes, anything, because my intent was behind what I was saying. And what I learned in the long run is, let's say you're a drunken drug dealer or whoever you are, and you come to my parking lot and I have to confront you. What I learned in the long run was to confront you on your level. I would be you. It's like you're no better than me, so I have to confront you equally. And that's what I learned worked the best. You don't overpower them unless it gets really out of hand. Then you have to get extremely intent about it. And that's what you just mentioned. What I learned in the long run was the intent behind what you're doing. Not so much that you do actions. It's like, they get threatening. I would get threatening, and it was the intent behind it. I could never do anything. These guys were like, bodybuilders, they come at you. And, I'm not that type of person, but I found the intent, because they don't know what you're going to do. So they feel the intensity behind it, and that's what held them off every single time.
Yeah, right. The intensity. Interesting. I love it. I hate to cut you short, my friend. We've got calls for days behind you. Can you give us a final thought while we got you on here?
No.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The fact that you can use the frequencies to do. Oh, well,
That's
here's
the best
one
answer I've ever heard, MJ.
My voice gets a certain type of resonancy in it, and I have 2 bowls in my kitchen, and it hits a certain level, and they start ringing. So frequencies do a lot.
All right, cool. You know the drill. You're welcome to call back in the third hour. We'll catch you then if you got some time, okay?
Okay.
Thanks a lot, bro. MJ in Virginia, appreciate the call. Thanks for listening. Always a pleasure. 702-957-1037. Take on that, Rohan, before we go to the next call.
Yeah, I had a ringing in my ear once that sounded similar. I don't know if it's the same thing. Like a low frequency tone seemed to come in one ear and a high frequency in the other ear. And then but it was not long after that that freaky time freeze moment, and then it happened again about a week later. So I don't know. Maybe it relates. Maybe not.
Hard to say.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, I hate to put you on the spot. You got a unique dick or fart joke you want to tell us?
I've got one right here, but I don't want to give it to you.
All right.
I might scare you.
You just slam dunked in my face. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jay Winch in Texas. Welcome to Trouble Minds. You're on with Mike and Rohan. Go right ahead, my friend.
Hey, I'm about to take you off speaker. Give me a second real quick.
Sure. You got it. You got it, buddy.
Sitting in for a second.
You got it. Thanks to everybody out there Thanks to everybody for sharing the air.
Everybody can still hear me.
Loud and clear. Go right ahead, sir.
I posted something in our Discord. Hold on. I'm still working on it. Give me a second here. Speaker. Can you hear me now clearly?
Loud and clear, sir.
Okay, so I posted something in Discord. It's a video. It's a YouTube video. My voice is familiar to everybody in this chat, including you, Mike. And when I say that, I barely ever call in with wrong information, i.e. DARPA dog. That's a different subject. That ain't the subject now. The video I put in Discord talks about Tesla, free energy, sound waves, water, and a bunch of other stuff. It starts off with a guy with driving a vehicle based off of water and a 9-volt battery that would break water apart and create hydrogen gas and not create waste. But when you go further into that video, it also goes into a guy that was able to take exhaust, turn that back into power, and run an engine for hours with no CO2. And then it goes further. I don't remember in that video if it was first where it's going into cold fusion or sound waves. When you guys watch this video, a person took quartz crystals. Once again, I'll say quartz, crystal skulls, quartz crystals. He took quartz crystals and took sound waves and went beyond what we can hear naturally. In that video, he lifted an 80-pound cannonball and levitated it. He made ice cream hit the ceiling. Now, the kicker is, every person in that video kind of had a Clinton list. Yeah, it's there.
Don't get us taken down.
Waves. It also ties into. Have you ever seen the technology where light, the sound, like the speed of light, but the sound is also tied into the speed of light? And that ties into the anti-gravitics and everything else.
I haven't seen anything.
Sound can move mountains.
Yeah, no, I believe that. I believe that 100%. It can definitely move mountains. I guess it depends on a lot of things, right? Not just the frequency of, but again, the power behind it, the volume. Like there's a lot of things that, like, being an audio guy myself, as you can probably tell, there's a lot of really special things with just audio tones that you can make some magic with some very simple things. And I say magic sort of not in the esoteric sense.
Uses it too as magic. Like, you've seen where they disperse crowds with just nothing but audio waves.
Yep.
Where it hurts them to stand in front of it. Like, that's moving people. Like, it's hurting them physically with nothing but sound. So if you crank that to a different wavelength, how couldn't you move rocks?
Yeah, or at least, like we said, you can certainly with the appropriate tonation and maybe frequency, you could definitely liquidate them. You could turn them into mush. So if you can do that, I have an easier time believing you could probably manipulate them to even move them. Let's say they don't levitate. Let's say you find a way to maybe tip their center point temporarily and they roll by themselves. You know what I mean? Something like that makes perfect sense to me as well. If you were able to tap into that sort of a frequency idea, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's there and it's in front of us, but I hate to say it, and I'm pretty sure all your callers and all the people that follow this channel, those mofos are keeping it from us for command and control.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Think about it. I mean,
that wouldn't surprise me.
If we had access, what's the biggest thing in this world right now? Power. If we had free energy and had the ability to grow enough food in the state of Texas for the entire world, which technically you could do if you use hydroponics and everything else and the technology, like, but once somebody gets a stranglehold of technology, they want the power and they don't want to release it.
Yeah, totally. Funny thing about Texas, you bring up Texas. In South Texas, you could drink the air. And they say there's like always constant droughts. I'm like, why are people so stupid? Why don't we just take the water out of the air? It's so dumb.
Well, yeah. Well, I live in Texas. Yes, you can. There's humidity. You can put, a rock in the center of it and it'll drop down. You can drink the air.
Exactly.
and so forth. I mean, that's survival stuff, and that's a whole different conversation if you want to talk about that, because I'm kind of up on that too.
Sure.
Kind of military.
Another time. We're actually out of time, my friend. We're out of time. If you want to hang tight, we gotta wind this up on the radio to give us the soft ending, the soft landing. If you want to wait a few minutes, we'll get back to you in just a few. You okay with that?
Well, hey, I can't get into the Discord. I can't figure that crap out. But when I called in, did he give you my number?
Yes. Your number is here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you want to call me back personally and put me into the Discord chat through your computer guru, I'd love to join you back.
Okay. You got it, bro. So you're not going to wait on the phone then?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can call me back on the number my phone showed up on, and I'll hang out and listen on whatever, or I can beat back in, however you want to do it.
Okay, stay right there. I'm going to mute you. I'll get right back to you. We're here with Jay Winch in Texas. Oh, hang tight, my friend. Be right back. Muting you. All right, Rohan, we got like a minute left, man. So many callers. Did you expect all these callers, man? We've been wall-to-wall calls all night. This is crazy. I know.
It's nice to know. Nice to be wanted. But,
yeah, right.
But yeah, that was it's a great call from Jay there, and that all the material there, I'm familiar with all of it, and just for the listeners' information, the scientist he was mentioning is a Canadian scientist called John Hutchinson, who made the bowling ball roll up the wall and the ice cream float, and he also managed to merge a spanner into some wood and cause a solid steel to tear like fiber. So it seems to change the properties of things, and it ties in with the old 9/11 conspiracies and Dr. Judy Wood and making particles, lose the bonds. And it's crazy, man. You create a state, basically create a static field, fire sound waves and microwaves at different frequencies. So it's a great point to make. It does kind of tie into this cymatics, so it might be worth looking into, which is why we say check this stuff out, because it's an adventure.
Exactly.
Well.
Definitely go down the rabbit hole. Check it out, though. We got the mighty Rohan here. He's Liam Martin. He's got a podcast called Exiled Minds. Please go give him some love. A very brilliant dude and a good friend of mine. And just scroll down. Links in the description. He's got a podcast on YouTube. You can find him in all the podcast places you would expect. And I'm going to be on his next podcast as well. So that's coming in March. So we'll let you know when that's going to hit. But please give him some love. A good friend of mine.
It's going to be amazing. Even I'm going to listen.
Even Rohan's going to listen. All right. So as we get the hell out of here, we got a third hour coming up. So let's do this. Let's smash the button. Get us some music, the radio thing. And here's what we do, right? The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. In this case, we've got a news show at 3 p.m. Pacific on Twitch, or otherwise we got Monday for more Troubled Minds. And it goes like this, right? Thanks again for spending your time and energy with us. That's the most important thing. If you want to help the show, there's so many ways to do that. Most important, just listen to the podcast feed. Easy peasy, Spotify or iTunes, and there you go. So as we finish, if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We're going to keep talking about this with Rohan and your calls. So as we finish, it goes exactly like this. Oops, let's get off the radio. Talking too much, blah, blah, blah. Let's just kill it. There we go. Oops. I went over. It's a rare overage. It's a rare overage. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thanks for listening for more Troubled Minds. Joe, have a great night. All right, so what we're going to do is take a 2-minute break. We're still here with Rohan, and we will be right back. Right back. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds. What is this? Archaeoacoustics and Cymatics on the way. Be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's do it. What do you think? Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're here with the famous Liam Martin, the mighty Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, and we're just kicking it on a Thursday night talking about crazy shit, which we normally do. And this is the third hour. The third hour is where we let our hair down. We don't really have, this is where things can go a little more off the rails because we don't have radio breaks. We don't have the rest of that stuff. We just, we have us. We have a conversation. And again, that's what this is all about. It's about hearing. You see what happens, right? I've done a whole show by myself, lots of them, by the way. And it's fine. It's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. But you see what happens when you get, 6, 8, 10, 12 people calling one show. It's like, boom, brains blow up. Because everybody knows different things about particular topics. And you see, even within the same topic, we're raising the roof. We're raising the roof here. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. So I want to thank everybody that spends their time here with us in chat. Thanks for all the amazing phone calls. I appreciate it very much. Let's get back to the famous Liam Martin. What's up, brother? Are you there?
What's up, bro? Yeah, I'm here. Always there. I'm everywhere, Michael.
You're listening. You're watching. You're the eye in the sky. All right. So we're not going to tell any dick or fart jokes for the third hour, but I'm so tempted. to just make some shit up. But what we're going to do is continue to take your phone calls. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. As simple as that. Let's get back to our good friend Jay Winch in Texas. Go right ahead, sir. You're back on with Mike and Rohan. Go!
Is it me?
Yeah, you're up. You're up.
Okay, hold on. Let me take it off speaker again.
Okay.
All right. What's going on? I'm sorry, man. Hold on. My dog's far. I know you put me back on that quick. All right.
You're fine. You're fine, man. Go right ahead. All good.
Oh, so yeah, like I said before, for everybody listening, please take a look at that video. I put it in Discord, general chat, and the reason I say that is I'm sure people have seen the little video clips where somebody will sit in a car and sound waves and making glass warp. I'm sorry, my dogs are going crazy. So, hey, go ahead and bring me back into the call thing. My dogs are going crazy. I heard somebody outside.
All right, be careful. I'm going to mute you. I'll come back in a bit. Go get him. All right, there you go. That's not good. That's less good. That's why I have dogs, by the way. I call my dog the biosensor.
Even worked against the T800, if you remember.
Yeah, that's right. Totally. Absolutely. All right. So what do you got? Let's lead us into the rest of this. We didn't even get to actual archaeoacoustics or Cymatics yet.
Let's get there.
Get there. Go right ahead, sir.
Michael, you wanted a dick joke? How about this? Hancock. Hancock.
Yes. Yes. I like it. I'm in. Let's talk about Graham Hancock.
All right. Well, you mentioned him earlier in terms of the Ark of the Covenant. You dropped the old little Ark bomb there, didn't you? So I'll give it works good for me because I got a little bit about Hancock, so we can double big him up on 2 books now because he did the book, The Sign and the Seal, about the Ark of the Covenant ending up in Ethiopia, and they claimed the church it was in was built by the power of the Ark. And that church that it's supposed to be in Ethiopia is carved straight into the ground, right straight down into the solid bedrock, right? And then it's hollowed out. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't know, that seems like a heck of a lot of work. Do you know what I'm saying? But they're saying, well, the Ark made it. Did you make the big pillars? So it's like this rock melting thing, and what's this Ark and stuff, and these technologies, and this, you mentioned rock melting earlier. So I thought that's a weird one. But Graham Hancock's a great person to bring up in terms of why don't we know about these things and the scientific dogma. So I thought I could do a little bit of a history on another book that he did, was America. It was basically America. What was the book? The book is America Before. Okay, and it's all about how basically the idea was that people can only have come to the Americas, across the Bering Straits, through Asia, down through North America to Central, then to South America. Okay, and anyone that said anything other than that, there was, sort of laughed out of the scientific community, and it sort of gets into that sort of dogma, how the dogma has really attacked people's careers. And it's not just Graham Hancock's been attacked a lot, but it's not just him saying this. It's been written about more recently about how this has been happening too much. Like, for example, in Nature magazine 2020, they're saying the early career of researchers are finding themselves underrepresented in groups of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These people are susceptible to bullying. However, they can get themselves aware and prepare themselves for abusive superiors, And then again, 2018, Nature magazine writes again, the working conditions in academic labs encourage abusive supervision. Okay, so I'm not trying to, drill on individuals. I'm just saying that we all know this. There's a scientific dogma that comes into these things, whether it's for careers or whether it's, originally with America, it would have been to kind of justify killing off indigenous people that are getting in the way. Do you know what I'm saying? We tend to have done that in history and make things lesser, make them like, oh, they're primitives and they're not capable of high culture, so it kind of justifies getting rid of them. Do you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like the sick thinking then, but of course, there's so many examples where science has turned out to be completely wrong about certain assertions. Like in America now, we know that there's people in South America that are genetically linked to Australasians, Aborigines. They must have come across the Pacific because we don't find them in anywhere else other than certain places in the Amazon. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of blows things out of the water. And now we know, people have been in the Americas for like over 130,000 years. Do you know what I'm saying? So he kind of switches things up a bit. So like saying in his book, America Before, the subtitle is The Key to Earth's Lost Civilization. You see, and this is, and it's, obviously did a lot of damage, even down to teaching Native American kids the history was a load of crap, sent them to boarding schools all over the place, took them away from the family. So, do you know what I'm saying? So this, what I'm getting to is that we know that science has not always been right, because it's supposed to, keep sort of proving itself wrong. And sometimes the breakthroughs are coming from the dissenting voices. And so I think in this example with ancient technologies, it's kind of a big one, because it touches so many academic fields, and we're only looking at our history of the last 13,800 years, because we now know with science, science undoes science sometimes, and we know, like with the genetic evidence, there's people who've been in the Americas for over 130,000 years, and we know with the geological evidence that 13,800 years ago, a giant asteroid 100 miles wide came through from the Oort cloud through the Kuiper Belt into our system, broke up, and at least 4 massive fragments hit us 13,800 years ago, caused gigantic floods of epic proportions, and on the northern ice cap, which was covering Greenland and North America at the time. So the mud flood thing comes in there, and it means that our history that we're looking at, we're only looking back 14,000 years. So what was there before that, Michael, is my question. And if they've had a longer run than 14,000 years, then it stands to reason they would be as quote-unquote advanced as us. Do you know what I'm saying? If they only got 14,000 years, what if they had 50,000 years? Or 100,000 long run without a big wipeout?
Exactly. I'm with you. And that's why we talk about this stuff in terms of ancient civilizations, because clearly if we're doing the deal regarding how far back does this go, we're literally in the infancy of these things, of archaeology, of anthropology, and like I always say, we've probably unearthed like 1/10 of 1% of the things, and not even counting what used to be underwater, like that, all that old like, let's say Atlantis, just for example, of like a super ancient civilization. Even if you want to call it woo woo, that shit would be underwater. And so that's where most of this stuff would be now. So it's like we haven't even touched even a scrap of this, and we're trying to put together the entire puzzle with like 1/10 of 1% of the puzzle. It doesn't make any damn sense. And I get it, right? You want corroboration of this stuff, and woo-woo doesn't cut it for like, textbooks. But, right, however, clearly like there's something going on with this, and I think it's definitely worth considering. Let's go back and check on Jay Winch real quick, make sure he's okay. Jay Winch, you still with us? You okay? Test 1 2.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I got my dogs put to sleep, so.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, I'm just gonna expand instead of talking about what I was talking about. But your other caller, the whole technology we had before a massive flood, it ties back into like the pyramids, and I'm talking all over the world though. Like you had the Mayans, you had the Aztecs. They all had similar technology, and then they build over that, but yet we still can't produce that today. So I agree with them. I think every so often the cosmos just throw devastation at us. And the reason I say that is look how far we advanced in the last 150 years. 150 years put us pre-1900, before we had electrical power. So imagine if we had electrical power at the start of a civilization, and we had 10,000 years to expand on that, but we didn't have corruption and evil people trying to control everybody. How far we could be.
I'm with you 100%. Jay Winch, you are on Discord. Yeah, what if? Yeah, exactly. Where could we be is a fantastic question. I got a screenshot for you in general on Discord. So you're in the Discord. Just go look at my screenshot I posted, and it shows you where to go. Okay, just go look over on the left side, and you'll see where you jump into that caller queue, and that's how you get onto the show through Discord. Okay, so let's try that. Let's see if we can get you on, and we got some other guys to get to as well. But hop in there, and then we'll pop you back in if you got some time, or if not, we'll do it next time.
I'll work on that.
Okay, sounds good. You're the best, bro. I appreciate the call. Great stuff as always. Have a fantastic evening. Okay.
All right, talk to you later.
Thanks, bro. Catch you later. There we go. Jay Winch in Texas. They're glad his dogs sniffed it out, whatever's going on. I see you guys there on Rockfin. What's up? Lots of people interested in these conversations. I appreciate that a lot. Anything on that, what he said there, Rohan, before we go to, looks like we got Kelly here. We got James here. We can get back to Dre and Daryl as well. It's off the chain tonight. 702-957-1037. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, like say it's off the chain. Let's say I'm glad he brought up that point of they seem to have some of the similar technologies, because that's the main premise of where Graham Hancock's coming from. Is find this evidence, is had to fight the dogmatic stance and keep his credibility, and the basic premise is that look, there was a civilization in the past that was global. That's why we're seeing a lot of crossover in the stylings and the techniques of the buildings. We're seeing it. We're seeing these little where it's in the pyramids, and I think in Pumapunka, in places in Central America, you're getting these ancient megaliths where they do these special little cuts where they go around the corner a little bit. Instead of cutting it off as a square block, they'll do a little corner bit, and you see examples in different places, and their little techniques where they'll have a little cut in sections of a pillar. They'll have a little cut, the keystone cut, and then put molten metal in there, and that's in lots of different places. So they've got shared techniques, so it looks like a global culture. Do you know what I'm saying? And this is what it seems like. There's a gigantic piece of history missing. That's where the idea of the catchphrase species with amnesia comes from, because there's a big chunk missing, and you make the good point. What could we have done? Just even without the Dark Ages, and how's this for a bit of craziness? Only 500 years in the 16th century, the population of London was 60,000 people. Okay. But in the same time period, the population of the Amazon was 60,000 people. Those amazing cities that then disappear because of bringing, foreign diseases there. And they were thought to be mythical. Now we know, not only were they not mythical, science said there's absolutely no way you can have that many people in the Amazon because the soil's not fertile enough. Then it turns out they've got the most fertile soil in the world, this black, what they call Indian soil, which is called terra preta, which turns out to be an engineered soil. And that's been found in different parts of the world as well. So not only, that's only the 16th century. And that technology is still around today, a soil that's the most fertile soil on Earth. So that's a technology left behind that not many people know about. It's probably one of the best we've ever made.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this goes per usual, right? These things end up they seem so simple, and we just go layers and layers and layers deep here. So what is, real quick before we get to Kelly? So what is Cymatics now? Now this was actually the idea of Rohan tonight to talk about Cymatics in this bit. So can you describe just real quick what this idea is regarding this? And I got a before I put you on the spot, I got an actual definition here. It's from delamora.life. It says, Cymatics demonstrates vividly how sound influences matter and molecular structure. But go ahead a little bit on that so we can actually get some of that in here tonight.
Yeah, so it's the term cymatics was coined by Hans Jenny. He did a lot of study with this stuff in the sort of 70s, and it's so you can get a physical representation of what the frequencies look like. So you can I've got some pictures I'll be able to share with you. But there was, like, for instance, if you want to find the resonance of the body of a guitar, it's not really mathematically calculable. But with this technique, you can physically see where things are flowing. Do you know what I'm saying? So you can go a little bit further with it.
Yeah, and sort of. So we're talking about sound actually being able to influence matter and that molecular structure. Then when we're talking about like human beings and like the soul and these sorts of things, right? And like maybe influenced by these audio, whatever they are, these resonances, then suddenly like getting, in a bad mood or a good mood because of music, like makes a ton of sense, doesn't it? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it's like literally like maybe agitating your molecular structure or whatever, right? Or maybe soothing your molecular structure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's fascinating how close all the main sacred geometries that we know of, the Vesca Piscica, we've got the seed of life, the egg of life, the flower of life, and the germ of life. They're all incredibly similar to, they are cymatic patterns of certain frequencies. So you think, that's interesting that they're drawing these things in the sacred geometry. The sacred geometry is the harmonic, like, mathematical frequency geometry of the universe. And so they seem to know them, or be using them, or at least aware of them. Do you know what I'm saying? And now we're coming into it with things like a sound lasers, phasers, and some, like I say, you mentioned weapons technologies. There's one written by Lieutenant Tom Bearden. It was talking about scalar electromagnetic and electrogravitation, from the Tesla stuff. So I just want to get into that a bit later.
Yeah, definitely. And MJ's asking, what about UFOs? Remind me, we got to get into that also. There's a connection here. There's actually a connection here, if you can believe this. All right, so we got, let's go to, we're still taking your calls tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Talking about the power of sound, Archaeoacoustics and Cymatics. And we're here, of course, with the amazing Liam Martin, the famous Mighty Rohan. And, of course, he's got a podcast called Exiled Minds. Check it out. Links in the description. And thank you. Special thanks to him for coming up with this idea tonight and spending his time as a co-host. By the way, Jennifer, if you're out there, let's set something up as well. She's got a couple ideas for shows. Also, Dre here in the chat, let me know. We'll set some things up because we got some things to talk about as well. For sure. Let's go to Kelly in Colorado. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. Go right ahead. You're on with Mike and Rohan.
Good evening, fellas. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Go right ahead. What do you think about this stuff, man?
Well, it's all of it. I'd say all of it is probably the way the ancients probably built a lot of the stuff. Like Dre was talking about earlier, and some other people talking about the Tibetan Jesus, can't even speak. Spit it out. Hold on.
I understand.
Right.
Welcome to my life. Yeah. words. So, use your words, Kelly.
Yeah, it's the Buddhist monasteries that they're on sheer cliff mountains and stuff, right? So the story that came out of there about the levitation, the Buddhist, I don't know if people heard about that, but it's called the Tibetan levitation, right? It's where this guy, he was a doctor. His name is Dr. Jarl, right? The story comes out of where he was studying at Oxford, and at the time he was in Egypt. But his buddy got a hold of him, via tap wire or whatever, and told him, hey, you need to come to Tibet. So he went up there after he heard the story because he needed to see it for himself. But that's what they were doing. They were doing levitation. So I kind of have a clip of the story here, if I could read, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so he talks about what they use. They use horns and drums, right? So, and he gives distances and the measurements of what these instruments needed to be. So he said that in the middle of the meadow and about 250 meters from the cliff, there was a polished slab rock. It was a bowl-like cavity in the center. The bowl had a diameter of 1 meter depth and 15 centimeters. A block of stone was moved into the cavity by a yak and oxen. The block was 1 meter wide and 1.5 meters long. Then 19 instruments were set into an arc of 90 degrees at a distance of 63 meters from the stone slab. And while I'm reading that, I actually sent some pictures of what that diagram he put it. I put it in the Discord chat, as well as some of the instruments, those Tibetan horns that they use, and just some pictures for examples. But the radius was 63 meters. Was measured accurately. The musical instruments consisted of 13 drums, 6 trumpets they called ragdons, and 8 drums had a cross sections of 1 meter and the length of 1.5 meters. 4 drums were medium sized with cross sections of 0.7 meters and the length of 1 meter. The only small drum had a cross section of 0.2 meters and the length of 3 meters, and all trumpets were the same size. Anyway, he just goes on and real quick, he talks about how it started once it started moving. When the stone was set in the position, the monk behind the small drum gave a signal to start the concert. The small drum had a very sharp sound and could be even heard over the other instruments while making a terrible din. All the other monks were singing and chanting a prayer, slowly increasing the tempo to this unbelievable noise. During the 4 minutes, nothing happened. But then the speed of the drumming and the noise increased, and the big stone block started to rock and sway. Then suddenly it took off in the air with an increased speed in direction of the platform in front of the cave hole about 250 meters high. After 3 minutes, the ascent of the landing on the platform. So he just kind of describes what he sees later on. You can look it up. It's just called Tibetan Sound Levitations with Large Stones. It's about 6 pages long. He's got some mathematics and stuff like that for it. But yeah, they've been, it kind of makes sense for all these ancients, to move something like that. Some of those big ass rocks that, all these ancient buildings and, monoliths that are, and some of them are still standing, they're doing some incredible. It looks like they should be just fall over, some examples were like over in Saudi Arabia where that block is looks like his laser is split in half,
Yeah, there's a lot of pretty wild stories with that old stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's pretty crazy. But I was just to continue real quick. There's some sound, like what people are saying. You could this type of stuff could be used, for either good or bad, moving stuff. It could be, we know that it can heal, because, there's been stuff that's, been out there for a while, also one of them was later on in the 60s and 50s was a rice machine. And then later on, now there's this new one that's called Spooky Tube. But before all that, there was a guy his name was George, Lovkowski. And he made this thing called a cellular oscillator. right? He's also he's got a patent for it that was done in June 12th, 1943. The patent number is 1962565, and it's called the apparatus of circuits oscillating under multiple wavelengths. And what those things were doing, he was actually, there it shows on the side. I actually sent that in Discord probably a couple days ago, but you sit in a chair and it had these big rings that had, and he shot different sound waves through you. And, he was healing, he could heal, heal different, diseases within the body. And that's true, because when you guys were talking about just a second ago about how that can, affect us, just through voice and stuff like that. You got to understand too that the human body, how and how sound can affect water. It can levitate water, it can move water different directions, and that's the whole thing. The human body is we're 90% water anyway, right? All of our cells, everything that's in our body that can be affected through any of these sound waves that or even like these things that these cell towers. What's interesting, they were doing studies of these businesses, sometimes they try to put these cell towers in parking lots, right? Or next to gas stations, but these gas station attendants that, they live there, they worked there for a few years, but then all of a sudden some of these, they were having a high level of radiation sickness or even cancer, from working in these areas. That's why I tell a lot of people, when I drive around, I'm trying to look at these cell towers where they're putting them at strip malls, kind of like behind them and stuff, like gas stations. They're kind of trying to put them as standalone, but man, I wouldn't even want to be around those areas.
Yeah,
it's an interesting points you to make there. Sorry to just dive in there, Mike.
I was going to ask you anyway. Go right ahead.
Great. Yeah, you mentioned that with the water. That's interesting. It's a really great point to make, especially because the first modern day levitation was with when they levitated a frog, and it was because of there was somehow levitating the water in the frog to make the frog levitate. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, there was another point as well. Sorry to just dive in there, but yeah, I thought that's a good point with the water. And like I say, mostly made of water.
Yeah.
And then microwaves come into play there, don't they? It's like and hydrogen, like you say, if there's another state of water as well. I don't know. It gets a bit messy, doesn't
it? So if we go into the other side where it could be a destructive. So I have an example for that where this guy, his name was he's mentioned a couple times, but it's called the Hutchinson effect, right? So what he did was he bought like old aviation hardware, right, or radar systems, and inside there he pulled all the the bulbs that they use, all the different and they're using a lot of that radar systems is just kind of high frequency, high waves, right? So he would take some of those and after a while, through his effects that he was using and, using those machines, there was a news reporter that was, they're doing a story on him and they caught a broom doing levitation, anti-gravity. So, that's already, he kind of, after that, he noticed that he could, that it could do that. At first, when he was messing with this thing, he really didn't know exactly what it, the effects would be. But that's one of them. Another one would be like he would, that thing could twist bars of metal, right? He had like solid bars, and it would just twist it, and it looked like it was twisting it and making it disappear on a cellular level, where it would just totally demolish it into pure dust. And this is like solid rods of stainless steel or like blocks of different types of steel, aluminum. The only thing he couldn't do anything against would be like, with wood or paper and stuff. It doesn't really affect anything like that. But like solid objects like that, it would just totally just disintegrate it more or less. And, that when he turns it on, you can hear that, kind of like that sound of what's, those bulbs firing up, and it's putting out that frequency. So that's just another way they could, it could be end up into a dangerous thing. As a matter of fact, there's that lady that she did a whole, she did a lot of talk shows and stuff about, that she believes that was one way that the cell tower, or the two towers went down, was, because of that effect and how it could happen, and just like totally make things, on a cellular level, just, it looks like it just disappears, Some of the video you have, like, where it shows some parts of the tower just literally, it looks like it just disappears. And it's glass and everything. That's the stuff that they were breathing. That turned it into a micro dust. That's all the problem that they were having. That's what they were finding in the lungs of those people. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, back to that whole sound stuff. Yeah, you can shoot that sound waves, and stuff. It could shatter glass. We know it shatters glass. It heats up objects. It could like heat it up and, even probably melt rock. Maybe that's how they did that back in the days, on some of these walls, these ancient walls, these polygonal walls that are in South America, where it just looks like they're a puzzle piece, and some of these things are like well-sighted and stuff.
Yeah, for sure, and it goes all over the place too. This ranges far and wide, not just back to, like you said, the Tibetan monks. We're talking about South American cultures. We're talking about, of course, ancient Egypt. There's a lot to this that suggests there's something, right? There's something to this. And again, I think the most fascinating part is, did we forget? You know what I mean? Like, we're talking about, actually, to the UFO connection. We promised a UFO connection here. And if you guys remember, not too long ago, Tom DeLonge, actually, of Blink 182, he had his UFO outfit, which is since downsized, and they lost all their guys and the funding and all the shit they had to the Stars Academy, right? Well, they had this actual part off of a supposed UFO from Roswell, metamaterial, they called it, right? Art's parts. Supposedly, the story goes like this: somebody was out there working for the military back during the Roswell crash in 1947. All right, they actually snapped off a piece of the UFO that they were collecting, sort of UFO debris, and they smuggled it out of there. This got passed down to his son, and then I think a nephew or something like this, and then it was mailed to Art Bell in the late 90s, Art's part, something like that. Forgive me if my details or dates are off a little bit here, but it's the gist of the story is correct. Now, they had this piece of, they call metamaterial. It was bismuth and magnesium, and they said the different layers, it was like one layer of bismuth, one layer of magnesium. And these layers were microns thick, okay? And they're saying that in terms of what we can do today, and again, I don't know, people say this, people refute this. I don't know the truth because I'm not a machine worker. I can't do micron levels of bismuth and magnesium. But they're saying the chemical bond between the two is a difficult thing. We can't do that here without like glue or something crude like that. But they found some way to bond it molecularly in this structure, which supposedly came from the Roswell crash. Now, here's where the shit gets interesting. Hal Puthoff, which worked with TTSA, To the Stars Academy, and Tom DeLonge, I tried to pull the clip actually to play it. I was talking to Rohan before we started tonight, and literally in the clip with Tom DeLonge and Joe Rogan, when they're talking about this, every other word is fuck and shit, and I was like, I can't pull this for radio, so I didn't. But basically the gist is like this. Tom DeLonge is describing this metamaterial of bismuth and magnesium in these layers of microns thick, all right, like a slice that supposedly came from the Roswell crash. He's saying if you blast it with terahertz of energy, and of course that could be acoustic sound, right? If you blast it with terahertz of energy, it actually loses mass. And he says in a laboratory setting, they can prove this is the case, etc., so on. We've never seen this. This has never come to the light of day as actually we saw this happening, but listen to what we're talking about. In the same instance, we're saying, no, it's bullshit that the Egyptians couldn't have figured out a resonance that could move stones or even liquefy them, even though we know we can do that today, right? But then we're talking about metamaterials in Art's parts and this bit where Tom DeLonge describing a terahertz frequency. What's a frequency? A sound that will actually make this metamaterial lose mass and levitate. There's your UFO connection. What do you think about that, Kelly?
Yeah, man, that's pretty crazy. Because if you really think about it, you can actually do that. I mean, sound can levitate. You know, who knows what these metal materials are, though, you know, but if it can and be lightweight like that, yeah, I mean, you're correct. If it could send some type of energy through it, right, which is going to create a vibration. That frequency, all that is, it means everything, because all three of them work in conjunction with each other, right? So if you're running through something through that, maybe that's what helps power or keeps it afloat or works against the gravity of the Earth somehow. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff. Yeah, crazy. Kelly, we got James behind you. We got to get to as well. You gonna hang? You bounce? Up to you, brother.
Oh man, let me just put out this one thing real quick. I would just before we get to him, I just wanted to say that would be interesting if somehow you could create like a fighting weapon with. You remember that movie Dune, when they were using their voice as sound and they were like shooting it was like a wave. Yeah, something like that. Something crazy.
Yeah, good stuff. That's a fantastic idea too. Maybe go into a Dune and how they were able using their voice to manipulate not just other people but as a weapon. Yeah, such good shit. Great point there, Kelly. You're the best, brother. You gonna hang? You gonna bounce?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang. I'll just put it on mute.
Okay, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. You're the best. Appreciate it. Thanks for everybody being patient and sharing the air tonight. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes I'm like struggling through 3 hours and I get 2 calls in 3 hours. Sometimes you get 10 calls an hour, and here we are. Rohan, before we get to James, anything else on what Kelly said there? Let's get your take.
Yeah, I just wanted to backtrack where you mentioned the Tibetan monasteries right at the beginning, because I discovered today looking into this that there's also the tuning aspect as well, because there's musical pillars in a temple in India, in Vitala, in Hampi, and they've got these pillars that are all like musically tuned. And we mentioned Michael Tellinger got mentioned, the stones that Dre mentioned, they were the cone-shaped stones. They were Hornsfell, they're acoustically tuned, like her playing a xylophone, So I thought, it's that aspect as well. It's the tuning of things as well, and we hear about this in the acoustic qualities inside the pyramids or inside in a Temple of Saqqara, in those big black blocks, like massive oversized coffins, and it's people like meditating there and make the sound, the Om sound, and it keeps resonating and it's all polished, and you're like, there's definitely something going on with sound. And I remember, I think it was Matt or Austin once mentioned to me that in Egypt they were supposed to have had these mirrors that bounce sound one side to the other, something to do with producing energy. So
yeah, you know what's super bizarre about that? You want another UFO connection while we're on kind of that thing for just a minute here. Remember, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. How exactly did the aliens communicate with us?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. And then I think about the Hinduism and Buddhism link as well. That's really ancient stuff. They got mandala looking things that look like cymatics, and we got the stories of the Vimanas that would hum like birds, like they're singing as they fly through the sky.
Yeah, exactly. There's tons of stuff here, tons of connections. Like I said, it's so strange how like something as simple as you go sound. You say the word sound. Right? It's nice. It's just beautiful. It's wonderful. It could be good. It could be bad. But then you see there's so many tangents on this. It's incredible. We'll have to revisit at some point and come back and do another thing and actually get to archaeoacoustics and Cymatics, because we didn't tonight, which is fantastic. Isn't that what this is all about? It's about hearing you and not hearing me. So amen to that. So 702-957-1037. What are your thoughts here? We're here with the mighty Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, and please give him some love. Click the Discord link and come say hi. Also, link is in the description for his show. Please do that. And he's got a show on, of course, YouTube and Spotify and all the places you can find it. Go listen. I'll be on his next one, by the way. So if you're into that, you're into that. Let's do it. All right, let's get to, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's go to James in Michigan. What's up, James? How are you?
Oh, it's hilarious. I'm okay. Glad to be here. This is amazing calls all night. This has been great listening to all this.
Thank you. I agree. Embarrassment of riches we have here, including you. What's your take here? Interestingly, by the way, if you guys don't know, James is legally blind. And he's been that way for literally his whole life. He was born with this condition, and so he's got a different sense of sound and acoustics than the rest of us might. So I'm on tenterhooks, my friend. Tell us your take on this idea of the power of sound.
Well, it's just interesting because I was talking about this last night with someone else in the after show, the voice chat, a little bit about how it seems like we all hear different. We all hear differently. We all hear different frequencies of sound, and it doesn't even matter necessarily. Like in my case, with the low vision or in the different hearing or not, but even just people with normal, what is considered normal hearing can hear different things. And I just wonder, the further back you go, I wonder if maybe the people back then were their ears different. Were they different in different, like in terms of the structure of their ears and maybe even their brains? They could pick up on different sounds better.
I wonder. Yeah.
That
Go ahead.
explains maybe why, or could it help explain why they would know these other sounds. Maybe as we are now, it's a lot harder to do what they did back then because we are different in some way.
Yeah, things change, don't they? And so not only, interestingly, I wonder too, so like a lot of the sounds that we've created, like acoustic sounds today, even without like digital instruments and that type of thing, still they seem to be, I don't know, like at what point, like could you differentiate between like a natural acoustic musical sound, like, I don't know, like you see like a, like back to the Ozarks or whatever, the guy with the, the bottle blowing into the bottle and the guy slapping on the rock or whatever, you know what I mean? So like things like that versus like, I don't know, like a Stradivarius violin sort of situation, you know what I mean? There's a point where sort of those acoustics become not necessarily unnatural, but you see what I'm saying, sort of manipulated so much by the hands of humanity that maybe they aren't natural sounds enough anymore for what we desire or need for this type of maybe ascension or meditation or even levitation of rocks sort of thing. I don't know. Just latching on to what you said there, maybe saying that the sounds have changed because we've sort of strayed from the initial maybe acoustic idea of what the natural world should be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, even going back to what you mentioned with the mythology and the Tolkien stories, I wonder how far back you go. I mean, what did the original sounds like? What were those sounds like from people, back in when the first people were here on the planet?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Rohan, anything on that?
Yeah, I thought that was a really fascinating question to ask there, James, about would we hear different? And would it be a physiological difference in the way our ears work, or could it be more like in the sense of we have pseudo muscles in the sense of skills, don't we? Where if we don't practice a skill, it's like the muscle getting weak and we get rusty with stuff. So perhaps in the past, maybe if our hearing is the same, maybe we were just more attuned to listening for things, because that's a skill. That's a skill that people definitely, and there's different layers of listening for things, and a DJ will listen for things in a different way to a person who's not DJing, but they'll listen slightly for different things that an audio producer is listening for stuff in the same way as a DJ, but they're listening for it for a different reason, so they're focusing on different parts. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you look into an audience, there's so many layers of perception. You wouldn't think just looking at a crowd of people, but no, because you can say, right, let's only look for people wearing a hat, or somebody wearing something the colour green, or let's identify where all the men are standing, and you can just keep doing that. And there's so many things, layers of detail that you could sort of focus in on. So I thought that was quite a sort of interesting point there.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. Because I've known other people throughout my life, especially growing up with low vision or no vision, and not all of them appeared to have the same sense of hearing as each other. Some of us did appear to have more sensitive hearing, but I do also think that it comes partly from learning how to listen and paying attention to that and learning how to use that for yourself when your vision is not so good. I think that definitely can be a skill. So
it definitely is. I used to think I was tone deaf. Like, I'm a musician, and I used to think I was tone deaf. I didn't get it when I was young. I was like, I just don't understand. Like how does the how does that work, right? Like how does that fit in like all these other things going on, right? It like the tonal structure of that. It sort of didn't click into my brain until one day I was just listening to some other song on the radio or whatever, and I was like. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like it was, but again, it was years and years and years of training, and then hearing something, and it was actually in the same resonance as my voice. Like my natural speaking voice is like typically an A. So if there's a song in the key of A, it's super easy for me to sing. I'm not Mariah Carey, but I can sing it, right? And so that's the thing. Like, you kind of got to know your voice and where it kind of sits in that pocket of like the frequencies high and low. But also you got to be able to hear it to even know you're in that range, so you're not tone deaf. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a learned skill. It's one of those things. But like you said, you have to be paying attention. And so I get where you would say that, like, even people with different vision capabilities don't have the same maybe acute sense of hearing, because maybe they're not paying as close attention to like sounds as tones. You know, there's like sounds as words and there's sounds as tones, and they're very, very different, aren't they?
Oh, yes. And you know what's funny is I do think that you can be born, because I heard from my grandma years later that when I was a baby, apparently my ears were even more sensitive, just naturally, than maybe they are now, or they became years down the line. Because according to her, I used to be able to tell her when, like this one time, I basically said, you know, when I was a little kid, I said, the cat is coming into the room, or something like that. And my grandma's looked around and the cat wasn't there. Of course, right away, look what came into the room. The cat walked into the room. Apparently I heard it when it was not quite in the room yet.
Paying attention.
So
paying attention, James.
It's a mix of, you know, what you are given physically, but then also what you do with it, you know, definitely.
Exactly. We're going to test your hearing right now. Are you wearing headphones, James?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take a sip of this beer. Can you tell me what kind of beer I'm drinking? You're up, sir.
Let's see here. Boy, I know you're. I'm not sure about that one. My ears aren't that good, I guess.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure. It's not a James Co. without a good joke. And
now you got me questioning everything. Dang it, Mike.
The world is turned upside down.
That's it. I'm leaving. I'm out. No.
I'm gonna help you. It's a Lagunitas IPA. There you go.
Oh, sure. That's really easy.
You knew that, though. You totally knew that. It's not
like a Miller or a Corona. It's like some other thing I've never even heard of. There you go. Okay,
yeah, no. I was going to say cause because I can spell it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. The Budweiser. All right. What else you got for us, James? We got lots of people been waiting for a long time. I'm not meaning to cut you off. You go right ahead. We'll get back to Dre. We'll get back to Daryl because they've been waiting for a very long time. But yeah. What else, man? What do you think? Do you think it is possible for the power of sound to do this crazy shit? Not just liquefy like a rock, like we said, but also maybe move them. Do you think that's possible here?
Yeah, I do. Just because, and I said this in the chat earlier, I know for me personally, even if like I'm with people I know, if a conversation gets too tense or too energetic, sometimes I have to leave. Like, it literally bothers my ears in a way. It's hard to describe, but it's true. And it just goes, into my brain from there. It's really hard to handle sometimes. And I think if just the basic sounds, from one or two or three people can do that to someone, even when they don't even mean to. It's not even like I'm putting anyone down. Just how it happens sometimes. Then what happens when you get, say 100 people together, and they're focusing on this one object.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I do believe that's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was
sure.
it.
For sure. Okay, sweet. So as always, you guys know James, a very good friend of mine, very good friend of the show, very good friend with a lot of you out there. We spend as much time as we can with James as well on his show. He has a show called Salcedo Paranormal. He talks about paranormal stuff, and he's doing book reviews now, Stephen King and some other stuff. Matter of fact, tomorrow, I believe, he's on with Jennifer, and they're doing a review of Beetlejuice, now getting into movies and stuff. So please give James some love. Links in the description. It says follow James here. It's podbean.salcedoparanormal.com, I'm pretty sure, because I remember now. And you can join him on Discord and listen to those shows live as well. He goes 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And so it's the unfortunate part is I don't spend a ton of time with James on that show. I would like to, but literally it's crunch time for me, because many times I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do for Troubled Minds tonight? And so literally that
time for a show is hard.
It's prime time for me to just try and get shit straightened out and read a bunch of stuff and try and get a coherent narrative. And sometimes it's stress, guys. Sometimes it's stress.
Oh yeah.
So right. See, so I appreciate when people jump in, like Rohan, like Jennifer, like James, like you guys know who you are, like Night Stalker, the people that have come in and said, hey, let's do a show together. We'll do this. It helps a ton because you bring the idea, you bring the energy, you bring another take, and it just takes a little bit of pressure off me. I can do it, but fuck, it's a lot of work, guys. You guys know, and I'm not complaining. I promise you, nobody makes me do this. I show up every night because I want to be here, but it is nice to have a little bit of creative help now and then. So thank you again to all you guys. You know who you are. Special thanks to the mighty Rohan tonight, the famous Liam Martin. Give him a follow as well. Links in the description. You can follow Rohan here. Exiled Minds Podcast. Any take on that real quick, Rohan, before we get back to our valued guests here?
Oh no, sorry, I was just chuckling to myself. There was something that you said, it tickled me. I was thinking narrative schmarative. That's so 2018.
Yeah, exactly. It's so propaganda bullshit. Open-ended, non-linear. Hey, but you got to start somewhere, right? You start a conversation somewhere. And I was talking to Rohan about this a while ago as well. And I was like, dude, it's easy. You pick an article, you get the premise, and then you kind of flesh it out on all the ways you can think of that sort of relate. And he's like, yeah, actually that makes sense, because that's how like a natural conversation would progress anyway. You start talking about one thing and then it just spirals off 100 different ways if you got people, willing to talk about it. So that kind of cemented it into my brain. I was like, oh shit, I guess I've been doing that and didn't realize I was doing that, right? But here we are. But yeah, man.
Yeah. It's quite a revelation for me, that was. So and yeah, it's such good fun. Honestly, when we say check it out, it's not just check I'm not wrong or lying. Do you know what I mean? It's more like, no, it's fun. Go and have a look. And then I always think that if you look for yourself or read for yourself or go and touch it for yourself, then you know, don't you? And then you're more empowered with everything that you do after that point. And I think it might have been Kelly on the call earlier. Somebody said earlier about like the power of your words and kind of like standing on your truth and your intention. You mean it, and people know that you mean it, so you kind of don't get messed with because you're real. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I suppose that's the takeaway. Just be real with this stuff, and your words and standing on your truth just carry you through, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get back to Dre. Thanks for being patient with us, Dre. If you're still there, maybe you've passed out. Welcome back to Dre.
No, not tonight. I'm still here.
All right. You had some stuff in the chat you probably want to kick in here, huh?
Oh man, I said so many things in the chat. Sorry. I had a few things. One thing that came to mind that I'm surprised that hadn't been brought up yet was granted, I'm not a Christian. I was raised Catholic, but in the Bible, the Word of God, like He spoke into existence.
Yes.
Whatever it was. So it was the sound from His voice that kind of brought forth creation. I thought that was an interesting note that hadn't been talked about yet. But the thing that really piques my interest a lot when it comes to sound and the frequency of sound and how it affects people is that the standard of tuning for orchestras and symphonies and just everything was changed universally from 432 hertz to 440 hertz. Now, 432 hertz is kind of known as the Earth frequency. It's known as a natural frequency that really harmonizes well with the human being and the human body and all of those things. 440 hertz is a bit discordant, and it feels off to the human ear and whatnot. And there's been a theory in kind of conspiratorial circles that's been going around saying that was done on purpose as a way to affect mass human populations to be more uneasy, be more into fear, being able to be more affected by whatever narrative that the powers that be wanted to put forth. And I thought that was really interesting that wasn't really accepted until 1978, which was the year before the government decided to allow corporations to to lobby in government. So not only did they change the frequency that we heard music, that we heard what was pumped out through the radio, but then suddenly right after that, we're also like following on the heels of it. Now these corporations were able to affect government decisions.
Yeah, I wonder.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, well, meaning this. Let me try and make sense of it from the way I understand what you're describing here. I always talk about like propaganda and that sort of thing. Like, you know, my news show. As you know, you watch the news show as well. Like in the intro, I say that repetition is the most basic form of brainwashing, and I mean that in that. The same thing comes up over and over and over again, and they don't waste a single moment on these propaganda shows. Like I said, they don't take live callers, they don't let you derail them, they don't do any of that, because every minute is scripted in the sense that they have to be telling you the same thing they just told you, over and over again. But in the same sense here, if we're talking about frequencies and how this changes somehow over time, maybe that was part of that whole maybe brainwash catalog as a maybe, how would you put it? Like long-term strategy anyway. Like maybe somehow somewhere in like, I don't know, John Dee's laboratory back in the 1600s or some shit. Like he came up with this idea that you could like mesmerize people or brainwash them easier with not fluoride in the water, but like with some sort of tone, right? Some sort of tonal structure if it changes the frequency or dynamic of the thing, right? Am I following you here?
Okay, yes, you brought me back to where my brain was going and I lost track of it. Yes, that in a sense, yes, because the 432 hertz tonal scale, it resonated more naturally with the human system, with how our brainwaves function. 440 hertz puts us on edge. It's almost like it leads us more into being able to feel negative emotions, fear, anxiety, just uncomfortableness. Like that's literally what's been studied when it comes to the 440 hertz compared to the 432 hertz. So with that new universally accepted tonal scale being put into place a year before all these corporations decide to be allowed to affect governmental change, then yeah, you'd have all of these people across the world in every country on the planet being subjected to these frequencies of subtle fear, subtle anxiety, subtle uncomfortableness, and then now we're gonna start creating more divisiveness. We're gonna start letting companies decide what can be done and what cannot be done. We're gonna start creating divide within cultures because it's a lot more easy when you already have that basis formed in the human brain.
Yeah.
If you're already creating division, if you're already creating fear in the human brain, even subconsciously, it's going to be a lot easier to create that, to make that divide even bigger once you go through with these bigger decisions.
Every little tool. Absolutely, 100%. I also want to say this too. Dre was on the show last night, and I was a little bit angular with her in my arguments. I apologized to her after the show, but I also want to do it publicly. I was a little bit, let's say, to kind of get things back on track, I made some statements to Dre here specifically that were uncalled for. So I did apologize last night. You said no harm, no foul. It's all good. I didn't even catch that. I just want to say, like, that's not me typically, and it was just more of a way to corral you back to what we were talking about. So my apologies for that. It was like I cringed when I thought about what I said to you after the fact, and was like, oh, fuck, why'd you do that, Mike? You sound like a dick now, right? And I am a dick, by the way, but I just hate sounding like a dick. You know what I mean? But I just want to say, just so everybody hears as well, I appreciate your input a lot. You're very, very intelligent, and thank you so much for being part of this.
No, I appreciate that. I love a good debate and I love a good conversation. And thank you for apologizing. My feelings weren't hurt. I was a little curious about why it was cut short so quickly, but then again, my brain goes off in different directions and I need to be corralled sometimes. So that's also okay. Bring me back on the topic when I need to be, because I get distracted very easily.
You got it. That's what I do. I appreciate you. Thanks for understanding. I'm human too. Thank you so much. Let's see, before we get back to Daryl and wrap this up, let's thank you, Dre. You were the best. Let's get together on that thing. You had an idea for a show, so let's do that for sure. 100%. Let's book it. Let's find a night that's good for you. You said Mondays and Tuesdays are the best for you. Am I right?
Yeah, for sure, man. I'll send you an email and we'll talk about it.
Okay, let's do it. We'll set that up for sure. All right, that's Dre in South Carolina. Thank you so much for spending your time and energy. It means a lot. Here's the thing. I didn't notice Matt was in the chat, so let's go to Matt in California. I'm sorry, friend. I have no idea how long you waited. I checked and was like, fuck, how long has Matt been waiting? Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, sir.
How's it going, Mike?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Wall-to-wall calls, bro. It's been off the chain. Look, I was like, yeah, thank you. Rohan and I were like, yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that. It'll be fun. Ha ha. We're like giggling like little girls. I don't mean that. I mean that in the best way. But then, right? See, you can't fucking say anything anymore. But
it's true.
Yeah, right. It's true. It's totally true. We're like, yeah, this is gonna be sweet. Like, we love it. We were geeking out, but shit, apparently everybody else is geeking out too. Go right ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I just want to call out lots of good stuff here and callers tonight. I wanted to tell a story that I think I've told you guys before, but I think it's appropriate for the show. It's a story it's a documentary called The Pyramid Codes, and it's about these archaeologists that are going out in the desert in Egypt, and they're like using sonar and like radar technology. What is it called? Like ground penetrating radar. To go down and find new pyramids, and they're like finding new pyramids all the time and like excavating them, and they're going down these pyramids. They're finding all kinds all the time, and they're like uncovering pyramids that even the grave robbers haven't been in thousands of years. And they're out in the desert one time in the story. They're out in the desert, like far away, and it's kind of scary. You have to bring you have to haul everything you need with you because out in the middle of the desert. And this guy, he accidentally trips over his canteen of water, which is like a no-no in the desert. And the water, it goes down this like, I say like a crevice. It goes down. The water goes into this hole, and the pyramid like becomes activated by the water going down it. It's the frequency that the water is traveling through through the internal plumbing of the pyramid. And come to find out, because they went to like other pyramids and they were doing it, and different water in different pyramids were making different sound, different frequencies. And come to find out that what they were doing is they found the Egyptians knew that your chakras are hooked up to a frequency. So if you say if you went into one pyramid, the water flowing down it was like an E, and say that connects to like your heart chakra, and you needed that to be healed. You would go to that pyramid, pour the water down it, and they would heal your heart chakra or your throat chakra or whatever ones you needed to work on. So the Egyptians knew about like the power of sound and the power of vibration and frequency.
Yeah, of course. And I think we say that a lot too, like in terms of like modern everything. We miss the forest for the trees. I was like talking to Kelly about that a while back too, and like made like a really stupid point over and over again. But it's like we get so much stimuli in our brain from so many things anymore that we do miss sort of that natural, that acoustic like resonance of just being human in terms of like the natural world, right? Like we talk about instruments and things like this, and like it's all synthesizers and shit like this now. But like, at what point did it change from like the natural musical world to like a kind of a bastardized version of music? You know what I mean? And I mean that in the best way, because I love music. I'm a musician. I'm an audiophile. I love, as many of you can tell, I love the science of sound. But also, it makes me wonder if, right, we've sort of strayed from a path. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I think back to like the first music, like the first caveman Neanderthal music. I wonder if like they heard a bird chirp and they were like copying it, and that's like where all music came from. Or they heard like the buffalo stomping on the ground and they started banging on a drum, and they made a drum, and that's where like percussion came from. So all that music goes all the way back to the beginning. Music's always been there for humans. It's essential to human life.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Rohan, anything on that?
Yeah, it sounds like, I'm glad Dre brought that up with the changing in the musical scale, because I was going to bring it up. But so it feels to me like say we move away from that scale that Gregorian chants were on, and Gregorian chants were sang in churches with stained glass window, mandala type things. They're a bit like some of these cymatic patterns in acoustic environments with the right kind of stone, with the crystalline structure. Do you know what I'm saying? It's Gothic cathedrals. So I don't know. I wonder if it's like bringing us away from the green language. So we're sort of talking about it's adjusted, and I thought it was a really interesting point, Dre bringing up that point of like, if you adjust it slightly and make people more susceptible to being in a kind of fear mode, then it literally reduces your vibration, right? In a fear status, and that psychologically then makes decision making more difficult, and then you default to that parent-child kind of communication relationship. Yeah, they appeal to authority. So it could well be used as a nice little tool. Do you know what I'm saying? And it makes you wonder if that's why. And a lot of this stuff seems to be about, your frequencies, your chakras, this stuff. So, I don't know. If things are working harmoniously and you're working with nature, it's going to be a smoother ride, isn't it? Path of least resistance. So perhaps this is one of the key elements when it comes to being a human being and in the kind of existence we've got. And I think that's what it comes down to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting how you said that, like in cathedrals, because like there's a difference between going to a concert at like a theater that has acoustics and then going to like an outside concert.
Yeah, 100%. That's just all that's all super science too. So the speed of sound, right? Like in those big outdoor auditoriums, they have to like sync the speed of sound from the different monitors as it goes back to like the from the seats to the grass to up to the top sort of thing. It's fucking wild. Like the science between that shit is incredible, being like sort of that audio engineer type of mind. It's absolutely nuts. And when you start to see those things like you just described, again at the cathedral, the like smoky bar sort of situation, or like a concert hall, like they're all very, very, very different, even though you have the same band playing the same shit, doing the same thing, right? It's unbelievable. Just like, so it's not just the power of the audio itself, it's also like the venue, meaning that whether it's nature or not nature, whether it's like the Red Rocks Auditorium that's perfectly acoustically calibrated for exactly that type of thing for John Tesh or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or that's a bad joke there, but yeah. You're spot on, Matt. You're in the game here. Are you a musician, by the way? It sounds like you might be.
Yeah, I play bass here and there.
I kind of felt it. I
like bass. I like the bass. I like the deep sounds. But back to like music. Yeah, I mean with music. Oh, and I was gonna say with the chakra healing thing. Another one we forgot was cats, and how your cat purr, and like if your cat comes up to you and it's like laying on your chest when you're on your back, and your cat's like kneading, like pawing on your chest, you're like healing your chakras. With purrs.
Oh, you to sleep as well. The rhythm of the cat's purring.
Yeah, the I don't know how that works. It might be the same way as the pyramids with the water going to the pyramids. It's like vibrating at the same frequency and trying to alter, like if your one of your chakras is out of line, it's like trying to align it back, like tune it back to the tuning fork.
Back to the tuning fork. Back to where we began, as always, right? It always starts and it always comes back. And not only that, like think of all the crazy tangents, like the UFO tangents. Like there's tons of stuff here. There's tons of stuff that really fits into this conversation as we do. The purring cat was perfect. I love cats. I haven't had a cat in a long time. Go ahead, man.
Do you know what? There's even an abstract link here. Just this funny side note. Just in the fact that when Dre was describing how, if you can get our frequency off, get the way we listen to things in music, makes us more susceptible to stuff. But in the cymatics and the original studies with Hans Jenny, in his book on page 30, it shows where he's got this pattern, but when he applies heat to it, it distorts the pattern all at the same time on one side. It says in the images, if you add heat to it, the whole pattern changes at once. So it's almost like a metaphor for like turn up the heat on people, and it distorts it all at once. Or like the when you've got static on the radio as you're leaving the city and getting further away from the broadcast, the static starts annoying you, so you change the station. But if that was a subconscious static that you didn't know you were hearing, and you couldn't turn it off, then eventually it kind of drive you a bit mad, wouldn't it?
Yeah, fucking right it would. And there's your brainwash, right? It's like Dre was saying, like if there's a tone in your head that's like you're describing, possibly imperceptible, but constantly keeps you on edge, it would explain, right? It would explain why society's off the damn rails, why all of this seems to be, you turn the TV on, you get mad, you turn the radio on, you get mad, you listen to this, you listen to that, you do this, you do that, you get mad. It's like there's nothing healing anymore. It's always like sort of like confrontational, agitated sort of tones and sounds and ideas and
And the health aspect of these kinds of things aren't really addressed, are they? It's always like, oh, they must be a nutter or they're on drugs. Do you know what I mean? But what does it take to get up in the morning naked and walk into a church and hack people up? Do crazy things like that. It's like, do you know what I mean? I don't know. There's something to it, and like I say, you mentioned it today, the Havana syndrome and stuff like that, and you think, well, in the last 150 years, we have advanced a lot in technologies, and there's a lot of frequencies bouncing around that wouldn't normally be there as well. Do you know what I mean? So depending on how clean they are, is how well tuned in are we going to be with our systems, and our cells communicate with sound and light, so we kind of don't really want to mess with these things too much, I would have thought.
Exactly. And I think, Rohan, this is a winner. I think we need to do a part 2 of this at some point because holy shit. Like a wall-to-wall calls.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the really juicy stuff yet. The really complicated, mind crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing though. That's the best part. That's the whole point of this is like literally the dream is you start the show, you just get calls the whole show, right? And have like a conversation. And we had it tonight and we're like, well
living the dream.
Living the dream. Living the dream. Thanks to everybody out there for calling. I don't like to do this because we've got 2 more calls on the phone line. We've got people we haven't got back to in the Discord that have been waiting for a fucking long time. Let's take these phone calls super fast. We're overtime, guys. I don't want to make this into a 5-hour thing because, contrary to popular belief, Mike does not tell the best dick and fart jokes, and my name is not Mike Hancock. So nice try. We're not going 5 hours. Let's finish this up. Let's go back to MJ real quick. You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, sir.
You talking to me?
Yes. Give me like your best 1.5 minute take. Go, sir.
Okay, yeah, I got that completely. When I first started doing readings on the phone line, 4 months into it, I started seeing these little dots of lights in the air, right? And I didn't really pay attention to it. And I had lived in Lake Havasu City for a while, so I saw them actually, before that. And then I moved up there. And then I was at a pool party and I said, hey guys, this is, so I want to show you something really cool. So I would look up at the sky and just, kind of get in a meditative state. And everybody was kind of looking around. They started looking at the sky and everybody saw them too. Okay. And a few people that were there stayed in contact with me and said, we keep seeing these things. Like 3 weeks later, we're still seeing these little dots of lights in the sky up in the sky like that. And over the period of years, I did experiments with it. just on my own. And I, finally realized that what I did was I was able to get in touch with them psychically, but I leveled the playing field so everybody could come up to the table and see the same thing. Now, I'm not saying I'm the only one who can do that. A lot of people can. I don't know if they've done it or not. But it proves that frequencies in a conscious mind or a collective can see the same thing. And right now, we're being so split apart that we can't do that.
That makes sense to me. I can't believe you came in under 90 seconds. MJ, you're the best. Great point. Thanks for calling. Thanks for listening. Have a great night, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Let's go to Big Y on YouTube. Go right ahead, sir. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Rohan and all the rest of these fine folks. 90 seconds. Give us your best.
Hey, everybody. All right, so 90 seconds. I'm going to say, if you guys have ever heard of binaural beats.
Yes.
It's exactly what that Cymatics stuff is. It's stuff you can look up on YouTube, or you can even find other sources. That basically is just sound healing using isochronic tones and these frequencies that are supposed to align with your chakras. I'm saying I use them for everything from healing, migraines, if I get a hangover one day, you know what I'm saying? Even, anxiety, any type of pain, as well as stuff. Hey, stop. Sorry, that was my youngest. Any type of manifestation stuff I want to get into, I'll look up Tesla 369 binaural beat manifestation, and it brings up one of the best ones I've ever had. I've had rent money come in on time that wasn't supposed to be on time. I've had just countless things I can't really explain manifest that have happened when I focus and synchronize these energies. And it seems like binaural beats are one of the only ways right now that we can do this stuff that they were able to do in ancient times and get cut through that dissonance. When they changed and made everything work music, slave music, repetition.
Wow. Holy shit. I think I need to do this more often. 90 seconds, go. You guys are
That was awesome.
Holy shit, man. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Big Y, you're the best. Call back more earlier, please. We're over 3 hours.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
You're the best, brother. Thanks for the phone call. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon. Have a fantastic night.
Yeah. Likewise, brother.
Thanks a lot. There you go. As simple as that. Go ahead, Rohan. Take on that. Wow.
No, that was
Wow.
good. Yeah, I was gonna. My only takeaway from that I want to give is, come back for part 2 for sure, though.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we have to line this up for a part 2. We have to schedule this down the road because holy shit, we probably peeled out 20-25 articles between Rohan and myself, and we got to 2. maybe 2. There's so much shit to talk about. It's good. Like I said, I'm not complaining. Embarrassment of riches, overflow of love. It's hard to complain about that. Let's get back to Matt. I'm sorry, Matt. I cut you off and went to the calls. Are you still there, buddy? Nope. He bounced. I'm sorry about that. Apologies to Matt. I did cut him off. He did make his point, but then I didn't ask him till he was done because we're out of time. And who else do we got? Let's go back to Daryl's been waiting a long time. Daryl, you still there?
Time to go. I'm going to make this fast. I was thinking about 3 songs. Good Vibrations from the Beach Boys. I've Been to the Desert with the Horse with No Name, and there was one other song I forgot. Those were the 3 songs in my head from the show. Also, I was thinking about what was the world like when it was in that different hertz, when we were doing a different vibration. How remarkable was the change when they changed it over to 448 from 440, whatever. And how powerful were we before that change? Were we able to lift rocks with our minds? Were we able to do telepathy when the whole world was collectively in tune? Just saying. Anyway, great show. I love the show. I think it was worth definitely repeating. And everybody was great. The call-ins were great and great inspiration and really great maybe juice and food for thought.
Oh yes, thank you for being fast. Thank you for understanding. Thank you to everybody for sharing the air. Like I said, it's I honest to God, when you start this and nobody listens for a whole damn year, and you get Kelly calling. Kelly's great, right? But Kelly was the only one calling. It was shit, we're never going to get there. And literally, here we are, just overflowing. There's still calls on the line. There's still people waiting. Fuck, 3 hours in, living the dream. Hey, Rohan.
I tell you what, mate. Even with just Kelly as a caller, I'd be happy with that for now.
No,
So,
I wasn't complaining. No, I'm grateful. If Kelly never called this show would have ended. I promise you that. Like Kelly is responsible for this show continuing because I'm like, oh shit, there's somebody out there that kind of sees what I'm saying. Without Kelly, there's no troubled minds. I promise you that.
That's the number one feedback I seem to get from, and that I find in these circles of talking about this stuff. It's relief from people that, my God, it's not just me. I'm definitely not crazy. And you know you're not because you've done the homework and you found some stuff, but still, it's nice to get some reassurance in it. It's not just you.
It's not just me mumbling in the corner by myself. Exactly right. Yeah. So let's see. We got some other folks been waiting quite a while. Let's go back to Kelly. Kelly, if you're still here, go ahead and give us your take. And then if Dre's still there, Dre's got a joke for us as well. So let's get Kelly's take again. Like I said, and I don't give Kelly enough credit, by the way, because I'm not shitting you. If not for Kelly calling into this show regularly in that first year, we'd have quit. The whole idea was to have conversations like this, and it takes a long time because you have to build an audience. People have to trust you, know that you're not going to try and make a fool of them when you call in. And Kelly, unafraid, once he found us, he started calling. All credit to Kelly for sort of just saying, hey, look, you're in the right place, Mike, and we understand. So special thanks to Kelly in Colorado. Go ahead, my friend.
Thanks, man. You give me too much credit, but yeah, man, it's great to find, like-minded people all the time, and it's just getting bigger, and it's getting more awesome. So I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I'm sharing with everybody else too, man. And that's the whole point of it, anyway. But yeah, just to finish it, man, it's just, I mean, it's not like this is nothing new. This has been doing. We just need to get back to what the ancients knew, and that's, for me, that's a gimme, because you just look at the incredible accomplishments they've done, whether it be carving or melting of rocks or moving big stones, healing healing the body, and this is all, it was written down, talked about, and it's not like I think it's just been hidden, and then the people like us have been calling in and have been listening that don't even call in though, but are still listening and want to know, try to get, kind of the point of what a lot of people are wanting to know about is, for example, like tonight, there's a lot of input that, some things that, some people forget or don't even know. And when we do this, it's a collective, and that's, man, it just keeps growing. It's just getting better. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm part of the I call everybody family because that's what we are. We're all found each other here, and they're still looking. So if you guys know anybody else, just keep bringing them on. Because it's a good platform here. Mike's got a great thing going right now. So anyway, man, just put it out there that just keep it. I guess peace and love out there, man. If we put that out, then we can conquer it all. So it's, again, the spoken word. For example, one more thing for I think Dre was out there. There's another one too of that was found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, which is the Gospel of Thomas. And they're talking about a lot of stuff within that too. Is the spoken word, and again with the Tibet too, that there are a lot of stuff that came out of Tibet. Not only that they were doing levitation of the rocks, but there's also stories of the mystics of the Tibetan Buddhism where they were flying themselves. I kind of ran in that real quick. Just one thing was, I was looking for something where they were talking about in the Bible with King what's his name? Oh God, I've lost
Solomon.
But King Solomon, where he's flying around on his carpet too. Maybe that's the same thing with the levitation or something, or you know what I mean. So the Buddhists had their way of doing this levitation as well, and flying around. So it's, I mean, again, it's been out there. It's an awesome idea, and I would like to see that it's that's probably one of the next technologies of anti-gravity. And anyway, have a good night, and you guys, we'll see you guys later.
You're the best, bro. Kelly in Colorado, thank you so much for being with us for so long. Like he says, family, I agree 100%. Rohan, take on all that stuff we just heard, the smash 90-second calls. Look, this is how a real radio show has to do it. They're like, fuck, our lines are filled up, and they make people wait 2 hours, and they're like, you got 40 seconds, go. So everybody talks super fast. They're like, blah, 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 blah. Shit. I feel like a dick. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and you mistakenly think, well, it's the top of the hour. That's it. The commercials are finished. I'm on next. The host comes on, introduces the show, and then they cut to another commercial break.
Exactly.
Another 15 minutes.
Exactly. And exactly. Don't go to you. Yeah, exactly. After you've waited 2 hours, and they're like, when we come back, we're going to your phone calls, and then you wait again. Jesus. Yeah.
But yeah, they smashed it. They did really well there. I thought that was brilliant. And then they swore then. Oh, I can swear, but I won't.
Yeah.
I'm
shocked.
That was cool, man. I mean,
we need to start training people. We're going to do this. Let's do this, Rohan. And I'm not cutting you off. You can continue after this. Rohan, give us your best 90 seconds. Go.
Okay, yeah, I think everybody that called in, I'm with them. I think this is going to turn into, like Kelly was saying, into a new, like, sort of form of technology. I think not just this. I think there's stuff to do with sound waves that seems a bit on the fringes of stuff. We are getting stuff. We get acoustic tractor beams.
Slow down.
Things.
Slow down. You're okay.
Okay. So, trying to get a job pitch and get it in quick. Get out of there. But yeah, I think this is the way it's going, and I think it's not just with sound stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming through, and I think that's why we're getting a lot of stuff going on, and I think this is why things all switched up a few decades ago. I think we've made these discoveries. We've started to, really get a handle on these electrogravidics and sound stuff decades ago. We refined it. I think we've got this stuff, and that's why they're talking about, UFOs are actually maybe real, because they've got this stuff, haven't they? And part of it is probably going to be this, like, say, we've got sound lasers, we've got all sorts of stuff. But there's more to do, Michael, as you know. So, I mean, we can really get into the meat of it, perhaps.
Hell yeah. So, for sure, we're scheduling part 2 of this. By the way, Rohan's next podcast will also have yours truly, Michael Strange, on it. So when that happens, we'll announce when that's going to go down. And maybe we'll do it live. Maybe we won't. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Yeah, I've got a massive script for that one. I'm going to magic the shit out of you.
Magic the shit out of me. All right, that's cool. Looking forward to that. So that's the thing, right? As we finish, like I said, I don't even know what to say other than, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. James, take us out of here.
Well, it's a good thing I stuck around, isn't it?
Yeah.
But no, just great cause. I do believe that sound and intention are really, they're two of the most important things out there, and especially, as time goes on and as things seem to, get worse here and there, but hopefully they'll get better, and hopefully we can all help make that happen.
Amen. What's the old Coke commercial? Like, I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I know. Mike, don't quit your day job. I got it. I don't have you give me a tone and one here off, and maybe I could almost get there, but not like this. But anyway, interesting, right? Interesting. What's up? Shout out to Algo Rhythm. Give him a follow on YouTube, please. Algo Rhythm, just like it sounds, Mike in Colorado. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for showing up. Look, we're done. Let's GTFO. I'm going to play some music, and if anybody's got like an outro, a J-tro, a James-tro, a Rohan-tro, a whoever's got a Daryl-tro, D-tro, whatever. We're going to play some damn music, and you guys say some words, and we're done. We're finishing the F out of this M effort, and we're doing it right like this. Wait for the bass to drop.
I'll go first then. Sri Gary Olson is a spiritual guru. I don't really know much about him, but he has got a great quote that says, "We are slaves to what we don't know, and of what we do know, we are masters."
I love it. Fantastic. It's almost like you had that planned, my friend. Anybody else?
Some pro shit going on here.
Some pro shit. Hey, Rohan, look the fuck out. We're getting pro, bro. Martin, by the way, Martin in Sweden. listening from the very fucking early days. COVID kind of broke his schedule, and he was not able to like come say hi and stuff. Weird schedules in Europe and all that, you know. He's back in the game and locked in. He reached out to me on Twitter. He's like, "Holy shit, you went pro." We're sounding pro, Rohan. Who else? What do we got?
Word.
Who else is there? Go ahead, Daryl.
Change the world.
Change the world.
Change the world.
Absolutely.
As Margaret Mead said, it doesn't take a bunch of people. It does take a bunch of people. A small group of people to change the world. Something like that.
Small group of thoughtful, committed citizens to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. You see? I remember. I got a good fucking memory. Contrary to popular belief, number one, I am an asshole. Number two, I do have a good memory.
God bless you, Mike. God bless you. We love you.
You too, Daryl. You're the best. James, spit some words, bro.
All I have to say is, keep fucking learning, because you never know when it'll come in handy.
Yes! Exactly right. And as we finish, right, this is what it's all about. This is what it's always been about, and we're blessed. I'm blessed. I think this is an amazing thing going on, and thank you so much for all the engagement, all the participation, all the amazing thoughts in the chat. Thank you for all the, holy fuck, we're coming up on 200,000 downloads on the podcast feed. What in the world is going on? Like, it seems surreal. Like, we're in that situation where once we hit some leaderboard somewhere in the podcast world, shit snowballs and goes off the chain because everybody starts going, oh, what is this? It's number 8 on the board. Let's check it out. And then they're going to find us, guys. They're going to find us. All of the amazing chat, all the amazing thoughts from you guys, all the amazing calls. Look what the fuck's about to happen. So it's an exciting time to be a troubled mind, and I'm telling you what, don't worry about the fear. Do not be afraid, but let's GTFO. As we finish, it goes a little something like this. If you want to help the podcast, you know what to do. Listen to the podcast. Spotify, iTunes. Simple as that. But in the end, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Wet Chihuahuas. One goes out to Jay.